Hello and welcome to Cleave to Antiquity. My name is Ben and I'm joined by a very special guest, somebody you've never seen before. Alex Sorin, what's up, dude?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on, Cleve.
Yeah, man, this will be fun. I was I saw this video after me and Father Ron did ours, and I was like, oh man, I was watching it. Some of the arguments are just they're almost embarrassing, but I wanted to go through because he did have some new bits here. But it seems like he's doing a bit of like an interview tour right now. I saw this pop up and I was like, oh man, we got to react to it, dude. Have you seen his stuff before? Schooping stuff?
I'm familiar with his stuff. Yes. Usually it's like the same thing that I hear about on Twitter, the same complaints about Jerusalem 1672 and the Council of Dositheus and PSA. And look at what St. Simeon, the new theologian, said. It's all the same stuff, just recycled. Nothing new.
Did you see that? Did you see the Father Ron? You were there for the Father Ron stream. The first hour of that interview that he did with me back in the day was about PSA. I was like, I went to everybody. They said I couldn't hold the PSA. I saw the Council of Jerusalem. It said PSA is condemned. I said, oh no, I gotta become an apostate now. It's over. It's like, okay. Well, another thing that he said in that interview is he said, I found out we couldn't hold the sola fide. Like, no longer.
That's when you found that out? Like,
yeah. When you were a priest, how does this happen? I don't know, man. IBS is here. What's up? Let me get WIBS in the chat. WIBS. Everybody spam it. WIBS in the chat. Explosive appearance right here from Mr. IBS. Hilarious. Yeah. How are you having such a meanie pants on your stream, Cleve?
Well, thanks for your compliment on the parody video. If necessary, I am prepared to go full Protestant scholar mode on this one. So only if necessary. You know, I don't want to use these powers irresponsibly.
Hold on, I've got some here. Actually, penal substitutionary atonement doesn't mean you're Nestorian.
Just because it says penal. Wait, what? What?
Penal stream banned.
Get your brains out of the gutters.
You're gonna get me banned from YouTube.
AL penal.
Parker says Schooping needs IBS to cure his PSA.
Don't you see it says punishment, Cleve? It says punishment.
It's true.
That means the historic reform doctrine of penal substitutionary atonement. There you go.
Right. Right. Computer, submit this man to eternal torment immediately. You've been programmed, bud. That'll kick in about 2 hours. All right. Well, I wanted to dive into this. I don't know if you saw. So you said you've seen some of his other interviews and things like this. It does seem like he is kind of a one-trick pony. Like it's just like I left. This is my testimony of why I left over and over and over again. This one was a little bit different. He did have some new bits that I wanted to point out in this interview because the last couple of ones I've seen, he did the one on Gavin. He did the one on with Joel Webbin, the conservative guy. He did the one with Javier Perdomo, and all of them were like about PSA, every single one. So this one, he actually does get into some different stuff. So I wanted to break down some of these arguments because, in my opinion, they're equally as low tier. But if you don't know what he's talking about and you're just taking it on, oh, he was a priest, he's an authority or something, then you might get confused. But I mean, in my opinion, I think they were low tier. So let's go ahead and share the screen. I do want to pull something up about this. I think they know they're banking on his authority because the comments are off. You can't comment on the video. Comments are turned off. So I think they knew that the arguments weren't too good. But anyway.
Is that their MO? Do they have like all? I'm curious. I mean, we don't have to go through it now, but I'm curious to know if they just do that for all their videos or if it's just for this one, then guys.
Well, yeah,
that's a double standard.
But we'll take a look at what he has to say here. So I've noticed that with a lot of different Protestant channels, they will just turn comments off because they don't want to hear the reputation. They want to la 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 la. We want to sit around and tell you how orthodoxy is bad, but we don't want any pushback. Please, please.
My fifis.
Well, this is why, in my opinion, they don't do debates, right? Like none of them. Who's really doing debates? Other Paul did one, he got smoked. Who else is doing
it? He's the only one.
Yeah, he's the only one right now. I mean, unless you count
maybe
like
Turretin fan. Maybe Turretin fan.
Yeah, Turretin fan. The 100th William Albrecht versus Turretin fan debate. They're gonna have like a 100 debate special next.
Yeah,
yeah,
he's the only one that can give James White a run for his money, probably.
Yeah, there you go. All right, let's go ahead and take a look and see what's going on here. By the way, I am multi-streaming here, Rumble, Kick, all at the same time. If you're not following me on Rumble or Kick, go ahead and send me a follow there. And we do have a super chat goal. If you want to send in questions or support the show, feel free to do so. But we're going to dive right into this video. So it's called On Eastern Orthodoxy Part 1, Pastors Talk. So I'm assuming there's going to be a Part 2. And it'll be all about PSA.
I'm looking forward to my invitation back to the show when that drops.
Yeah, there you go.
Not even talking about the Trinity.
I don't think he was here when we did that.
He wasn't.
Yeah. Great conversation.
I must, like that.
But a lot of people are just listening. So
okay.
The word to the wise. Joshua is pastor of St. John's Lutheran Church in Russellville, Arkansas. Am I correct so far?
Yes.
And you've been pastor there for how long?
2 years now, in April.
Okay. He's also the author most recently, a number of books, but most recently of Disillusioned, Why I Left the Eastern Orthodox Priesthood and Church. And I think it's in its second edition. They first published it in 22, and then there's a second edition of it. Is that correct?
Yeah, I added a few additional.
I'm going to skip past the introduction here.
Real quick, though, I do have a comment on the introduction. Is that like this guy in the blue polo shirt? I don't remember his name. Not trying to disrespect you in any way, sir. But he's like apparently their theology guy. They go to him for like theological questions. And he was tasked with doing research into Eastern Orthodoxy. And he says, guys, I found an expert on Eastern Orthodoxy. I have Joshua Schooping. Is that on what planet is that indicative of going in good faith to a source on Eastern Orthodoxy to learn about it unblemished on its own terms? This from the very beginning. This was supposed to be a hit job. There was no good faith here, obviously, by going to Joshua Schooping.
Right. Yeah, they should have had an actual Orthodox priest on, not an apostate. You know what I mean? Especially one that was surprised that we didn't teach sola fide. I was in here for 12 years. I didn't know we didn't believe in sola fide. Whoa.
Dude, the thing is, we have so many father doctors in abundance in Holy Orthodoxy. By happenstance, I've had a bunch of them on my show. You know,
right.
I've been on the show with Father Deacon Ananias, had Father Dr. Stephen, a bunch of father doctors that are Orthodox. And they found Joshua Schooping, who's an apostate who left the church, who obviously has a tainted view of all these things.
Absolutely. Yeah. Rich says they'll have ex-copt Farong on for how do you say his name?
It's Farag, but he's saying Farang.
Yeah, Farang. Yeah, Farag on next to talk about Eastern Orthodoxy. Yeah, I mean, well, all the cops anyway say, they try to conflate the two. They try to LARP as if they are the Eastern Orthodox Church, not even just Orthodox. They say they'll even kind of sneak in on podcasts and things like this. You saw this with the Bryce Crawford thing. They had literal Eastern Orthodox bishops in the background and priests in the background.
Thumbnail. Yeah.
And then it was two Copts, and they have no idea. Who's that other guy? That other Brian DeVilla guy? He had a video a month ago where he said, and he has been doing videos with Copts for like a year or two now.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, I just found out Copts are not the same as Eastern Orthodox. And apparently they don't like each other too much. But I'm just saying to this to you, Ortho bros, it doesn't make me want to become Orthodox when you point out that I'm wrong.
What?
Like that was like his whole bit.
We're doing
He's
you
like,
a favor, dude. What on earth?
it's ridiculous. He's like, all it shows is that you're sowing division in the body of Christ. You're sowing division. I mean, that's
I'm pretty
pretty
sure
much what that video was.
Dioscorus divided them from the body of Christ, but that's neither here nor there, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Thank you for correction.
I was going to say they'll claim to be one united church, going by the fathers, but of course, closer examination will show that exactly as Pastor Deaver had mentioned, there's a lot of diversity and disunity within the Eastern churches for sure.
I want to come back.
Well, let me rewind that because I want to see what they were just talking about. Is he going to do the whole like, what about Oriental Orthodox? Let's see what he says. Hold on.
What I'd like to do over 2 episodes is first have you help us understand the Eastern Orthodox Church. That's sort of episode 1 we'll do right now. And then a subsequent episode, how do we help members of our churches pastorally who are thinking about it, considering it? So that's sort of the outline here. Longtime listeners know that often, I should tell you, like I have my hands on the steering wheel, but then Mark will just kind of reach across the car and grab the steering wheel. So that might happen.
I was just going to point out that I think Joshua will point out that there isn't such a thing as the Eastern Orthodox Church.
That's one of my
There are
questions. Yeah.
Eastern Orthodox churches.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Thank you for correction.
I was going to say they'll claim to be one united church.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. That's right.
Can I say real quick that he is dressed an awful lot like, appearing to be maybe closer to an Eastern Orthodox with the beard and stuff. I know Lutheran priests, I know they have their own vestments, especially in the LCMS, but with the icon in the background and the beard, like I wonder if he was dressed in plain clothes with a Western collar that was visible, if people would take him as seriously as some authority on Eastern Orthodoxy if he didn't have the beard and if you saw a Western collar around his neck. I really wonder.
Alexander Kane says, I really wonder if he's Miko the furry. Oh, that would be a hilarious plot twist, dude. If that was actually the furry guy.
Going by.
Well, that does seem to be a trend with the Lutherans, with the LCMS Lutherans being furry pastors. I don't know why that is.
By the fathers, but of course, closer examination will show that exactly as Pastor Deaver had mentioned, there's a lot of diversity and disunity within the Eastern churches for sure.
I want to come back.
Autocephalous.
2 questions I want to ask about in just a moment.
That guy said autocephalous, like autocephaly, like breaks up the unity of the church. What are you talking about, dude?
This is a classic Protestant error. They don't know the difference between distinction and separation. They think that if you have distinct jurisdictions within one church, that somehow that means they're separate churches. No, you can all be one church and have separate jurisdictions and have autocephalous churches united as one church under one faith. His favorite new word. Yeah, probably.
Yeah, he just learned about it. He's like, anathema. I just learned this word, anathema,
First, can you tell us your own story of your movement into it and out of it?
Yeah, be happy to. So when my wife was pregnant with our first child, our son Isaiah, God had been spending the last few years kind of drawing me closer and closer to him. My kind of diverse evangelical background left me very unprepared to kind of navigate through the theological waters that many of us will take for granted, having grown up in reading systematic theology or dogmatic texts or really strongly in a particular church tradition. It was very non-denominational, very unrooted. And so as it became clear and clear to me that following Christ was the only proper way to live, it almost kind of presented itself as a question from the Lord to me. I don't mean that in a Pentecostal or charismatic or enthusiast sort of sense, but it was as if God had said, "What do you want to give your unborn son? Do you want to give him your best guess, or do you want to give him me, something more than myself?" And it was very clear. There had been several confrontations that the Lord had with me up to that point. One of them even being, as I reflect, in humanities, in the histories department. And I love the ancient world. I love, I love all that stuff. I'd study philosophy, theology, art, politics, those sorts of things.
I'm going to skip forward just a bit. I don't really feel like listening to him rant about nothing.
And maintain
real quick before you go on.
Yeah, go ahead.
I do think there is something maybe instructive that he did have deep evangelical roots, it seems, and that he went maybe too quickly into Eastern Orthodoxy, because it's like he was in college, he was starting to read the Philokalia and getting into like Eastern Christianity, and then right away goes into seminary.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
know. Maybe,
that's a good insight. It does seem like that was his well, if you watch the previous interview, the one that we reacted to last time with me and Father Ron, he was talking about his first big experience with Christ was at a Reformed church, a Calvinist church, and he was hearing a fire and brimstone sermon that really convicted him, and that's really what got him into Christianity to begin with. So that's when he was like, I got to take my faith serious, was at a Calvinist church, which is probably why he has such an attachment to PSA. So that's just, I mean, that's what I would think. Because if your big hook into Christianity is like some big fire and brimstone thing, right? That's like it's like you know, turn or burn, you know.
yeah,
All of you.
it's gonna leave an impact on you for sure. Absolutely.
So it didn't necessarily put the intellect as like the chief faculty of the soul. It was often like the affections, get excited about Jesus and then do stuff for Jesus. But the nature of theology, historical theology, philosophical theology, and then how theology impacts life, not really a whole lot of discussion that I found. And when I saw the Eastern Orthodox doing it, it was so amazing to me that I said, I want to check them out. So my wife and I started attending a local Eastern Orthodox church in the Central Florida area where I was. And then I kind of got confronted with the dilemma.
Was there any difference between you and your wife, or were you guys both on the same page at that time?
On the same page. Well, she struggled a little bit more with the Reformed Baptist side of things, because not only was the preacher, the pastor there, a great communicator, he's also a little fiery at times. And
those Baptists.
Yeah. I'm just kidding. I just did the shame thing. For those who are listening, you can take that by faith, not by sight. But I'm just kidding. So he was often very fiery, and that was a little bit overwhelming and intimidating to her. And a lot of like the legal language that we might take for granted in the West.
Ooh. So did you just catch that? My intuition was correct. He got the PSA seed embedded in him at this fire and brimstone Calvinist Baptist church. That's exactly what it was.
Well, and also he's saying that at home, his wife, she seems to have always had that view. If you have that influence at home all the time, where it's going to be tough. Like I even feel empathy for him in that way. Where like you're an Orthodox priest, you go to Orthodox church, and you come back home, and your girl, like the love of your life, keeps on talking about the Reformed Baptist church. That's going to take a toll on you after a time.
Yeah.
Honey, what about PSA? Honey, what do you think about sola fide?
Well, yeah, you said that it was harder for her to shake it, and it seems like maybe she didn't. That's a huge impact on a man, what his wife thinks.
Yeah, I agree. I think taking this gentleman aside, I think it's a good bit of advice for anybody who's Orthodox that is, either wanting to be married or is married. Make sure that you practice solid headship in the home, that you're leading. You are the spiritual leader of the house. Do not delegate that to your wife. Don't ever do that, right? You're going to usurp your authority and put her as the head of the household. That's ridiculous, right? There are some things that you have to really put your foot down on, and matters of faith is one of them, right? I mean, I have difficult conversations with my wife about the faith all the time. Glory be to God. She is a very faithful woman that, she's really strong in the faith, but she's also humble, and she will admit when she's wrong. So if you're not married yet, find yourself a woman that is like that. If you are married, make sure you exercise headship, because otherwise issues of faith in the house really do start to tear apart the home life. So that is a big thing. JB, prop beer goggles are just heckin' quirksome glasses that blur contradictory information. So true. So true.
I can be Orthodox and hold the sola fide. Actually, don't you understand? I have this quote that I translated with AI from Russian that says we're saved by faith. It doesn't even say alone, but it says we're saved by faith. So this means you're going against the heckin' church fatherinos, okay? Don't you understand this?
Amen, Daddy. Let me see if I can find that soundboard thing. I don't even have just a hey men one. Dang it.
The 66th book, King James Bible, amen. That right there, hallelujah.
I love that guy. I need to have that guy back on the show, dude. That guy was awesome.
Pastor Rager, yes.
Dude, he's honestly, I really do like him. Like, not like, even though he's like
Me
funny,
too. He's
and I disagree with
endearing.
his theology, he seems like a kind of guy, like, you'd go, you'd go and hang out with. He's a little crazy, but he's awesome.
Guys, your Baptist friend, you don't agree with him on everything, but he's still a cool guy.
Right. Contemporary compendium anathema. Eh? I need that. I need to.
I'll send it to you, man. I'll send it to you.
There you go. Is the new Father bless? Is Father Ron still in the chat? If you want to come up, you can. By the way, I'm better yet. Let me just do this. I'm just gonna send him so I don't have to watch. So I don't have to spy on the chat the entire time and be distracted. I'm just gonna go ahead and drop the link into your DMs on X. So that way, if you do want to come up, you can. All right, let's go ahead.
Was very alienating. And to me, reading Eastern Orthodox sources, it's like, oh yeah, that is a big problem, is what I was made to believe.
So eventually you guys joined, just to kind of fast forward here,
Yeah.
You joined the church, you eventually went to seminary and became an Eastern Orthodox priest. And I'm sure I'm skipping over lots of interesting details there. But at some point, even as a priest, you realized this isn't right. Something's wrong here.
Yeah.
Can you walk us through that kind of bit?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a good thing to ask Nathan Rager to stop doing. Hey, if you want to be my buddy, do you mind not preaching like you're going to go to hell outside of the Orthodox churches? Thank you so much.
Right across the street. Can you at least, go a little further down the block or something?
Right. Go to the park rather than outside of the church. How about that?
So I went to St. Vladimir's Eastern Orthodox Theological Seminary in New York, and that was where I encountered my first real problem with Eastern Orthodox theology. But it wasn't with Eastern Orthodox theology in terms of its canonical tradition, but as it was being taught in the contemporary world, in the modern West, on the subject of the atonement specifically. So I was kind of told, entering into the Eastern Orthodox Church, and it was all in the air. I mean, you could read authors like David Bentley Hart, who openly was an Eastern Orthodox Christian, who openly professes universalism, that everyone can be saved. So that was considered a legitimate opinion to have.
He's just going to pull up like the two people that taught like crazy stuff, like Callistos Ware and David Bentley Hart. That'll be the two, I guarantee it.
Because you have to move the Overton window, right? So how he's going to frame his argument is that he's going to take the most fringe views that nobody really agrees with. David Bentley Hart, he's absolutely a fringe view. I'm surprised that he's still in good standing with it. Maybe he's not. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it's like other Paul, talking about the church fathers totally taught, ABC 1, 2, 3. It's like Origen and Tertullian, the only two heretics you could find. It's like the church fathers totally taught that we were going to become orbs at the resurrection. Okay. It's like that's Origen. Okay.
Well, it's a good example of like relativizing not only your theology, but also your view of history. And like, look, the Holy Fathers have set out who we can get our theology from, right? And like who has an appropriate set of views. And even for those like Saint Irenaeus or Saint Justin Martyr who have chiliasm, we have the Second Ecumenical Council, like, hey, carving that part out of their theology, right? So
we got Father Ron. What's up? Thanks for coming on. Sorry, go ahead, Alex.
Oh, there I am. Hello.
Hello, Father Ron.
Hello.
Yeah. I was just saying that
DeYoung. Oh, sorry. We have Father Stephen DeYoung in the chat. His bishop realized something wasn't right and refused to ordain him. So he shopped around to find one who would.
I did want to bring this up, but I wasn't too sure of the details. So I'm glad that Father Stephen mentioned this. That this is also indicative of the general disposition, that the fact that he was ordained in the first place seems to have been like a mercy to him. That there were already drawbacks people were having about him right off the bat, that you have to go shopping around for a bishop to ordain you.
Yeah. Father Stephen DeYoung, if you want to come up on the panel, I'm going to drop the link in the live chat here.
Yeah. But I guess my whole point in that spiel before Father Ron came on was that, look, the Holy Fathers have laid out who we can get our theology from. Origen is not one of those people. Why are you going to Origen to find out what is and is not proper?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a mess. Well, granted, you'll do that if nobody else holds to your position, right? You're forced to side with heretics. I don't know about you, but if I'm in a position where I'm forced to side with heretics, I'm not going to keep that position. That's a mess, dude.
That should be an indicator that you're going to revisit your view on this topic. You would think, right?
Yeah. All right. Well, welcome, Father Ron. Thanks for popping on the stream.
Thank you. Actually, I did have a question about his shopping around for a bishop, and if Father Stephen comes, he can answer it. But does anybody know if that was while he was in seminary or after? Like any details like that? I'm just curious. If not, it's not a big deal.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Okay.
But Father Stephen DeYoung, if you want to come on, feel free. If you're busy though, no worries at all. All right, let's keep going. See what else this gentleman has to say.
Whether you believed in substitutionary atonement of any kind, whether it was penal substitutionary atonement or something else, that was kind of optional and on the table. You don't really have to believe that. You just kind of believe that Jesus, overcame death, he defeated death and made eternal life possible. And so if you go through the process of transformation, transformation language, then that's kind of what Christianity is. It's kind of like path of theosis is the term they use, which is a Greek term for becoming God by grace, but also through your works. And so when I discovered, however, to my alarm, that the church fathers, whether you're looking in the 1st century or the 4th century or all the way up into the 19th century Russian writers, they're teaching penal substitutionary atonement.
In Orthodoxy, they're teaching that.
Yes.
Penal substitutionary atonement.
Yes. Until you get to the 20th and 21st centuries, they took a hard left. And so
why was that?
What
happened then?
That's probably an open question, I would say. I find personally that...
Which is flat out not true. Penal substitutionary atonement doesn't come up until the 16th century.
He is a liar. That's a lie. That's an utter lie. You need medieval nominalism in order to have the historic doctrine of penal substitutionary atonement. And I think one of the greatest resources on this is St. John of Damascus is on the Orthodox faith, because it's a summation of all of the uncontroversial doctrines in the year 700 or so, whenever he was writing it, right? It pulls directly from, if you're ever wondering, what was the consensus of the fathers around the time of Nicaea II? Go read St. John of Damascus on the Orthodox faith. Those are all of the uncontroversial propositions. He records there the consensus of the fathers from the doctrines of the councils. He talks about the uncreated energies. He talks about his doctrine of God, the doctrine of the Trinity, the relationship between the Holy Spirit and the Son. He covers all of those things, not once in this extremely comprehensive document of theology up to St. John of Damascus, not once ever does he say anything even resembling penal substitutionary atonement. You would think that that's important. If it's so important and it's there, that he would write about it, but he doesn't.
Could I add one thing about what he just said?
Please.
So he said, he said just before about PSA, he said something about that theosis means to become God by grace. And then he said, and works. I don't know if you noticed that.
Yes.
So he's trying to get us about that. But then if you really think about it, to be like God, to work with God, I mean, all throughout the New Testament, you have, and Jesus himself said, while it is day, we must work, and the Father's working and so am I. So I find that a little bit kind of odd that he would say that, because theosis is not just sort of something that's, I'm going to say, I'm not good at the nomenclature. I'm going to say something mystical, but there's this element where there's this synergy that is, to be like God is to work, because that's what he did. Does that make sense? Is that acceptable to everybody?
Hey, man.
Yes, absolutely.
Amen.
Hey, man. That's right, brother. Hey, man. That right there. Hallelujah.
I love it.
my new brand, anathema, eh?
She had t-shirts. Father Ron used to make t-shirts.
I don't even need the soundboard. I have Father Ron right here to do the soundboard for me. That's awesome. Lady Vlad says, Brian is not sincere. Any dude who cries every podcast is sus. Which one's Brian? Is he one of the guys in the background here? Is that one of these guys? I don't know this podcast. I know Schooping. I don't know who these other Protestants are. Are they like, is this a cry cast? I don't know. Did we tune into male crying podcast? JB says, I'll watch. Oh, thank you for the $10, by the way. I'll watch this in full later, but just need to point out the main reason Schooping apostatizes is because he's a dork. Seriously, Missouri Synod. So true. Missouri Synod. Come on. I mean, what you got furry pastor, you've got ordained rabbi, you've got, I mean, other things that I won't mention on the podcast. There was a big, huge scandal with one of their higher ups there. doing some not so good things. But I mean, it is a huge mess right now. Granted, it might not have been by the when he went over there. It was like the one conservative mainline Protestant haven, and now it's not, because as with every mainline Protestant institution, it just goes crashes into the dirt. But anyway.
A lot of it comes from the impact that the Christus Victor model had through, I think it's Gustav Alain and his Christus Victor model that got picked up by some Anglicans. There's a famous Anglican dogmatic theology text that was taught in so many seminaries by a guy named Moss, is the author, who kind of really minimized or diminished or even just kind of did away with the doctrine of penal substitutionary atonement and canceled it in favor of this Christus Victor model. He didn't see them as working together. He saw them as more or less mutually exclusive. And so that got absorbed by these Anglicans. And then when they converted to Eastern Orthodoxy, it spread like wildfire in the Eastern churches.
Joshua, while we're in bibliography, for people to understand, many of us have read Timothy Ware's book, The Orthodox Church, published by Penguin, Callistus Ware. Is that book still, do you feel, a good introduction for the non-Orthodox into understanding a bit of the history and theology of Orthodoxy?
No, I don't think so. I don't trust him. He pulled he was a former Anglican, a lot of Anglican moves. He was an Oxford scholar. And so there's some kind of Oxford scholarly liberalism that's at work in that. And so he presents a view of the Eastern Orthodox Church that's very mystical, fairly syncretistic.
Father Stephen DeYoung says, if these guys explain to their people thoroughly that the church doesn't teach Calvinist doctrine, they'll actually be doing us a big favor. So true. Well, the last one that we just did with Father Ron, you remember this, Father Ron? He was saying, he admits that one of the reasons he left Orthodoxy, well, one, the main thing was PSA, but also he realized the Jerusalem Council condemns PSA. And he says, well, I realized I had to go because Orthodoxy condemns the gospel, he said. Remember that?
Do I ever? Just the way he said it.
Did you hear that, everybody? We don't teach PSA.
Yeah.
We don't. Coming from a former Orthodox priest himself.
Exactly.
And it will play fast and loose with the canonical tradition.
When you don't find that's actually accurate about most Eastern Orthodoxy.
No, he was under the Patriarch of Constantinople. He was a metropolitan, and they're kind of known today for being very ecumenist in the bad sense, which they're like ecumenical in the sake to the degree that they try to maintain the identity of Eastern Orthodoxy with the mystical substance, but not the canonical substance. And where the church fathers speak most strongly and authoritative is in their councils, which promulgate canons. So when we say canonical Eastern Orthodoxy, we're referring to the specific canonical traditions of their councils, where the Eastern church fathers say of themselves that that's when the Holy Spirit speaks infallibly through the church.
You don't
so
mind
when
pausing it for
Callistus
like a
Ware,
second? I did want to comment on this Callistus Ware thing. I understand he had like later on in life some like weird views on Christology or something. But if you read his introduction to the Orthodox Church, I think that's a pretty solid book. He's not going into any really far out Christology or any deep theology. It's really just the basics. He has like the hierarchies of authority in there. Like, yes, the Bible has pride of place. We see it as infallible, along with the creed and the dogmas of the ecumenical councils. We see the services of the church also as instructive of what we believe, although you have to understand that they're dramatized in a way. And it's a very thoughtful laying out of like just plain and simple historical facts, and then how to view certain the hierarchy of authority within the church. And I don't think you need to get into anything too complicated where you even really can make an error. You know, I think it is a solid book.
Oh, and he wrote it, I think, in the 60s or 70s.
Good point, Father.
Yeah, it's a long. I mean, none of this was,
even on the
I
radar.
thought I use the book. I like the book.
Yeah. I think my only critique on it was one of his books. He makes a comparison. He says this phrase, which gets circulated a lot: "We know where the church is, but not where the church isn't." And it was like a misquote. It's supposed to be, "We know where the Holy Spirit is, not where the Holy Spirit isn't." So that would be my one critique on Callistus Ware's writings. Father Stephen DeYoung says also Allen's Christus Victor was published in 1931. This absolute clown is claiming that the Orthodox Church taught PSA until 75 years ago. What an insane claim, dude. Yeah, exactly. Well, he contradicts himself because he says, "Oh, but they taught it until this book," but then he also says the Jerusalem Council condemns it, so on and so forth.
And then later he complains about St. Gregory Palamas and his teaching about theosis. Is that PSA? So in the 1300s now, the Orthodox Church was teaching PSA when they had the Palamite synods.
Yeah, it's whatever's convenient at the time, I think.
Diminishes that he's giving a presentation of Eastern Orthodoxy that's not accurate.
I want to finish out your own deconversion out of it in just briefly, and then I do want kind of a basic user's guide to some of these things you're talking about.
I like how they said they're going to be doing a show on what orthodoxy is, and instead it's just like cheap pot shots, basically.
Well, also, like I mentioned at the beginning, this guy in the blue shirt, right, this gentleman who looks like his beard is nicely lined up. Well, I have nothing against him personally, whatever, but he was tasked with learning about Holy Orthodoxy, about Eastern Orthodoxy. That was his job. And instead of going to somebody like Father Stephen or Father Ron or anybody else that like has a presence out there, you know, Father Peter Hears, who does he go to? The apostate. That's where you're going to learn about Orthodoxy on its own terms and on a good faith grounds. The apostate.
Right. Exactly.
It's bad faith from the get-go.
So you finally realized, oh, they're changing from what the Bible says and even what the tradition says. And that's when you left? I mean, what was kind of the linchpin moment for you, or light bulb moment?
Good question. Yeah. So at that point, I thought, well, I'm going to be the guy who's just going to stay within the Eastern Orthodox Church and champion the patristic tradition, the canonical tradition regarding the subject of the atonement. And I was very unpopular with a lot of people, but I showed my work and I showed it. Here's what Cyril of Alexandria says. Here's what John Chrysostom says. What are you going to do about it? You know?
So he said, I was just basically going to stay and fight against the church the entire time. I was just gonna accept it. I was just gonna have to fight against the church, my entire priesthood. It was just gonna be me against the entire church. But you know, eventually I realized I couldn't do that. Like, you notice that. That's exactly basically what he's saying here. I'm just gonna have to be the PSA guy.
I mean, props to him at least for owning up to it in the end and just leaving instead of just staying in the church and being a subversive.
Right. Any thoughts on this, Father Ron?
There's the one good thing I found about him.
Yeah, that's what I said. I don't know why he didn't sleek off into the sunset. I just, well, you know, it'd been so much better for everybody. That's my opinion. I don't understand it, but anyway.
This person says it's actually scary to see a wolf like this could be in the church rather than leave. Well, you know what? Feminists do this a lot, actually. They will stay even though the church says that they cannot be priests or you know, whatever, so on and so forth. But they'll stay and try to change church teaching and bash their head against the wall the entire time until eventually they complain enough. Like in the mainline Protestant denominations, this is exactly what the feminists did. This is exactly what they did in Roman Catholicism. They stayed, but they were like, you making me wear this thing is like, you know, you're not letting me read you know, at the pulpit is like murdering me. And then what did the Roman Catholics do in the 60s? They said, all right, fine. You can do a little reading. Like, this is what the feminists do. So, I mean, this is what subversives do. This is actually, you can't be a subversive without being a part of the institution to begin with, right? How are you going to subvert it from the outside? You got to get people in, right, that want to corrupt the teaching. So by its very definition, right? Absolutely. Yeah, not everybody that has a cool Byzantine cross next to their name is actually Orthodox in their teaching and understanding either. So be wary of that.
No, here's what Theophan the Recluse in the 19th century says. Here's what, you know, Simeon, the new theologian in the 9th or 10th century says. Like, I'm showing the work. I'm even showing it in their hymns. And a lot of people don't know this, but the hymns in the Eastern Orthodox Church are canonically binding. They're not allowed to change their hymns or insert new hymns into their church cycle. They're all about 1,000 years old. So if something is found in one of their hymns, it's dogmatically binding. It's a teaching of the church that has to be defended as true. So fast forward to when
this person says, hey, and men want to bring weapons into church. Well, we're looking at a male subversive here. So I'm not saying only women are subversives. If that's how you're taking it, that is not my intention. So we're looking at a male subversive right here.
The thing that kind of broke me away is at first there was that wedge issue between historical, canonical Eastern Orthodoxy on the atonement and contemporary teaching. But then there was a thing that drove me even further to where I realized I couldn't stay. And it had to do with the Jerusalem Council of 1672, where they start teaching, where I start finding in their teaching.
I like how he's like, yeah, I know all about that council. Yes,
I love that council. Yeah, like we love that council. That's my council. I love that council. That helps me, not you. Like, it's so crazy how they think like it's this secret council that helps them. No, it says your Calvinism is a heresy.
Right.
Like outright.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, it's funny because you can tell these people have absolutely no idea what he's talking about. So everything he sounds, this is the first time that they're hearing it. So they're like,
Yeah.
whoa, this has to be true. Like, this has to be the case. Oh, we all know all the church fathers taught sola fide. We all know all the church fathers taught double imputation, right? We all know this. This is obvious, right? Yeah, whatever. That is not the case. But you're hearing it from this person who's basically making a career off of like an authority claim. I was the ex-Orthodox guy. I was the ex-Orthodox priest. So you can listen to me, right? It's a grift. It's a grift. His books weren't selling before. They're selling now. That's it.
Yeah.
Well, he wrote books on theosis and they didn't sell. And now he writes books on why I left orthodoxy and all the people.
Disillusioned.
Yeah, exactly. Now it's like, oh, I'm making money.
Yeah.
Amazing. But one thing that he said in another interview is he said, I will not do any debates with any Orthodox person.
Yeah, because he'll lose.
Yes.
Schooping, I will debate you. I'm a layperson. I will debate you.
Right. Absolutely.
He won't.
Did he say why?
He said they're too mean. Of course.
Well, but
Well, Father Ron, you're nice. You could have a conversation with him.
Well, I would actually. The only thing is with me, and because somebody just asked me in the chat about doing a debate on whatever it is, miaphysitism or something like that. I'm not well versed in that. First of all, I would never do well in a debate. And number two, I'm not very well versed. So you both by now it takes time for me to process things, and I very often it sounds like I don't know what I'm talking about, because it probably is. And so but I would speak with him. But I guess to what end, though, would be the question, right?
About miaphysitism?
No, I'm talking with Joshua Schooping. I don't know what would be the point of it, actually. His mind is made up, and I mean, I have some. I suppose I could say some things in terms of the fact that he's out there sort of campaigning against it, and I'd like to ask him why. Why does he feel he has to do that? Because to me, if it's something that is just sort of for him, well, they didn't teach us and it wasn't good for me, that's one thing. But to go out and like actively campaign and appear in all these shows, that's quite something else. It tells me something about him. It tells me something about his own security in his position. You know what I mean? To me, when you're out there doing that, I always believe that you're trying to convince yourself of this. So no, that's all I'm saying.
To be fair, Father Ron, I think anybody who's had somebody leave the tradition that they're a part of, seeing somebody that used to be a part of it going out and attacking it, probably would feel the same way, whether they were evangelical, so on and so forth. But I don't necessarily think that. I don't know. I'll leave it at that. But Father Stephen, go ahead, Father.
Sorry, it's just that he was a priest before. Excuse me. I mean, so you do carry that not authority, but you carry that you had that position and you had that rank, and so you are going to be listened to, and so that's why anyway, and that's all I'll say about it. Basically, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think because obviously I used to be a Protestant pastor, right? And I do videos explaining why I left Protestantism and things like this. But I think it's important because I think the Orthodox Church is the ark of salvation. The thing that I would say that is like, I don't know, that would make me question why he would want to do this is because if he believes in sola fide, right? If you have faith, you're saved, right? Unless he's saying like you're not saved if you're not Protestant. Is he saying Protestantism is the one true church? Is he saying Lutheranism is the one true church? What's his salvific question here? Or is he just saying like, well, he makes a lot of different claims. He says like rejecting PSA as a rejection of the gospel. So maybe he would say like you have a different gospel and you're going to hell or something. So maybe it's not actually sola fide, it's like sola Reformation theology. But anyway. Father Stephen DeYoung says, I found a council that teaches the thing I've been saying they never taught. So true. One of his comments lined up here, but I lost it. He said, if the reformers, hold on one second, I should have started. There you go. Luther and Calvin knew the Father is better than Schooping. If they all taught this, meaning PSA, why didn't the reformers quote them? Interesting point. Quote them to prove PSA.
They don't have a lot of quotes, actually. Now that Father Stephen mentions it, because I just read through Calvin's section on the atonement for my video on Jordan B. Cooper, and he does not have a lot of quotes to the fathers in that section. Actually, I don't think he might not have any quotes to the fathers in that section, but otherwise he quotes a lot of Augustine, obviously, but also St. Gregory Nazianzus. But I don't recall seeing many quotes to the fathers in that section. That's a good observation.
Colton says, "Grr, these Orthodox and their thousand years old unchanging hymns. Arg."
Like, wouldn't that raise a red flag for you if our hymns are that old and they haven't changed? That this is what the Christians of the first 1,000 years believed,
right?
And you disagree with them. Shouldn't that raise a red flag and be like, maybe I'm wrong?
Yeah, I said that in the other video. Is that when he said that, I'm thinking, well, isn't that something to be regarded? Like, that's a feature, right? Anyway.
Yeah, it's a feature, not a bug.
Here's another one here. Is it okay to say Jesus took our punishment if we mean physical, not spiritual death? Like, did he take the punishment physically? Yeah, I mean, we're not saying Jesus was condemned to hell. That's the point, right? We're not an historian, right? Go ahead, Alex.
It's Saint Simeon the theologian that really starts using this language, and when he's talking about punishment, he means in the sense of when Adam and Eve left the garden, God had to make them mortal, susceptible to death, because if they weren't, then they would continue on sinning forever and ever, and they would become like demons. So in that sense, that kind of punishment of feeling thirst, of these passions that are not condemnable, in that sense, Christ took on our punishment to feel thirsty, to feel hungry, to have this separation. I don't want to say separation, but in the sense that, like, your body, when it's in full communion with God, you're not going to want any of those things. Christ, when he took on a human body, when he took on a human nature, he feels things like thirst and hunger and sadness. Like, he cried for Lazarus, right? In that sense, he took on our punishment, not in the sense that, like, he's the sole recipient of all of the Father's wrath for all time. Like, it's a distinction. It's a very specific way that Saint Simeon, the new theologian, uses that term, and that's probably the saint to read for this kind of thing.
Well, isn't it? Could you not say, or let me ask you this, Alex? Is that basically saying that if otherwise you are not thirsty, but now you're thirsty and hungry and feel pain, that it could feel like wrath?
maybe
it's
in
a
that
stand-in for wrath.
So.
That's the way sort of I understood it.
Yeah.
I kind of like thinking, like, okay, imagine if you didn't exercise all your life, and then, but like a perfectly fit body would be basically the perfect human being. I mean, just as an analogy. Well, once you start exercising, first of all, you realize how far away you are. Number two, there's distance, right? Number one. Number two, you're going to feel it like you wouldn't believe. And that's going to feel like wrath, right? But it's all on you, right? It's not like it's coming almost from outside. It's all on you, because it feels like wrath, because to get to journey towards that perfection is going to feel like you're going through fire. Let's put it that way.
Yes. Yeah. In the sense that, like, Christ took on our punishment, I think, like, I mean, of course, all that stuff Father Ron said, but if you look at Saint Simeon the new theologian, he's very clear that this refers to the blameless passions.
Oh, okay.
Like,
yeah. My analogy is not
I mean, I think it's still there, but
Yeah.
it's there
Yeah.
in a limited sense. But also, Father Stephen DeYoung basically said what I was trying to say to you, Ben. He just says it much better.
in this
That's kind of what I
in
was.
this comment here.
Yeah, if you read it out,
Oh,
you'll
yes.
see.
Yes, yes. When he says, you know who's never had a problem with the way I talk about Calvinism publicly? My friends who are Presbyterian pastors who I went to seminary with. You can leave and still be fair. Very true.
Right.
Very
And
true.
so that's not what I get from Schooping, though, against the church, right?
Mhm.
Like, so what I hear from you, Ben, is that you still have a regard and to people that were in your former church. You pray for them, you love them, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I don't get that from Schooping.
True. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think, it is super important not to burn bridges. Absolutely. But yeah, I mean, if he was the thing that really I think is jarring is the way that he misrepresents the Orthodox opinion, like the Orthodox position, rather. Like it's almost as if he had never heard it his entire life. Like being shocked that the Orthodox Church doesn't teach sola fide is insane to me. JB says Jordan B. Pooper and now Joshua Pooping. So the jokes write themselves. Hold on, I got just the soundboard for that. Go ahead, Alex.
I was gonna say, I think I don't think he was actually ignorant. I think he's feigning ignorance, and I think he's lying. I think is what he's doing. I think Schooping is lying. That's what I think.
Mm-hmm.
I will go out there and I will say that. I know Father Ross is like, oh, Alex is committing to this one. I am committing to this one. I think he's a liar. That's what I think.
Sincerely says, what blows my mind is how these prot churches are losing their congregations, but instead of finding out why, they put their head in the sand. I guess that is the fruits of Protestantism. Yeah, that might be part of it. Well, granted, these people here are learning from the expert, the Orthodox expert, the apostate Joshua Pooping here.
Hey, I want to go learn about Eastern Orthodoxy. Who am I going to go to? Like any number of authorities on YouTube out there, almost doubled Father Dr. Stephen DeYoung, Father Ron, Father Peter. No, I'm going to go to Joshua Pooping. That's what I'm going to go to.
Johanan Beloved says, God bless you all. Grateful Good Friday, Jesus. I thought you were a Coptic.
Johanan, he's a Miaphysite evangelical. Isn't that the guy? Isn't that guys in the chat? Isn't he the Miaphysite evangelical?
Can you just be an evangelical and believe whatever you want? Is that the way it works?
Isn't that the benefit of being an evangelical?
I guess so. True. Yeah. Dylan says, gotta review Redeem Zoomer's new video. It's bad. All right. So RZ did a video talking about Jay Dyer and the Jay Dyer debate that he had a long time ago in 2023. So he did a review. I watched a little tiny bit of it. I didn't finish it, but I probably won't because I don't want to be too mean to RZ because I am still friends with Redeem Zoomer, and I would like to remain friends with Zoomer. Okay. I have a confession for everybody. I have been playing on Redeem Zoomer's Minecraft server all day today. So that's what I've been doing. It's over. It's over. L's in the chat. L's in the chat for Minecraft. No,
sackcloth and ashes is required for this.
It's over. But see, that's the thing, though. You can still be friends with people that you absolutely disagree with, and were a part of your, former circle as a Protestant, and not be super nasty to them. Yeah. Yeah. Actually, you have to. Yeah. It's over. L. We forgive you, Ben. L. It's over.
I'll do a review. It seems like Redeem Zoomer doesn't like me anyway, so I have nothing to lose there.
To be fair, I was building Orthodox churches on his server. Okay. So if that weighs it out, if that balances the scales there, okay, that might be better. Father Stephen DeYoung, Minecraft ecumenism anathema. It's over. All right, Father Ron, I need an anathema, eh?
Anathema, eh?
Now it's official.
It's official. Oh, that's funny. Cleve doesn't want to burn bridges because he wants to play Minecraft in a Redeem Zoomer's server. So true. I only started playing yesterday on that server, but I actually had a little bit of fun. I just bought Java. I used to play Bedrock quite a bit. Actually, fun fact, I used to run a Minecraft server back in the day on Bedrock that had over 1,000 members on a Bedrock server. This is a console server. I coded everything by hand. I made mini games. I had an economy system. I had all sorts of stuff. I even paid the guy. I did like a cameo thing with the dude from Pawn Stars to shout out the server. And I was like my buddy's like one of his favorite celebrities or whatever. And he ran another server. So I was like, ha, I got the ad from your hero or whatever. That was a fun time. It's just too much work. Naval Orange Gazer, $10. Thank you for the super chat. Schooping apostatized from my diocese. I don't think it's a coincidence. My bishop had pretty heavy homily on atonement debunking all this crypto Calvinist stuff on elevation of the cross last year. Very good. Well, I wonder, is that video online? If that video is online, I'd like to see it. I had a good conversation with my priest, and he basically was, like in the actual catechism classes, right? They teach you PSA is false. So, I mean, I don't understand how you get through like the priesthood and not know this. Granted, I think he probably did know it. He just thought, I'm smarter than everyone. My bishop, my patriarch, my priest, everybody's dumb except for me. That's kind of how it seems to come across.
I agree.
You can add all the people in seminary though too.
Yeah.
It's a good point.
Ben raises the question, how do you kill that which has no life? That's a South Park Minecraft or World of Warcraft reference.
Teaching, their official dogmatic teaching, they say it is not the righteousness of Christ that justifies us.
Because the generation before, they had an Archbishop of Constantinople.
Question here from Art. Hi, I'm still a Protestant and hold a PSA. Will you please explain why it's wrong and point me to some links to study further? If you want, go check out our live stream that says it's titled Ultimate Refutation of Penal Substitutionary Atonement. We did a massive stream on this. You can go check it out. It's replete with different argumentations and sources. So that'll be a good resource for you.
Constantinople, who had become a Protestant.
It's argued that he was Protestantizing at least. Yeah, Cyril Lucaris or Kiro Lucaris. Yeah. And he came out with a confession, or a confession was attached to his name somehow. And then the generation afterwards, of course, denounced him and denounced this. And so they went in this kind of Trentizing direction, by Council of Trent, I mean, because they were kind of aligned more with Roman Catholic teaching textbooks. Because after the fall of Constantinople, so many of the seminaries closed, they couldn't really teach their clergy. So if they were going to teach their clergy, they often had to send them to Italy or to smuggle in textbooks from Franciscans or later the Jesuits. And so they started adapting their doctrine or framing their doctrine in Trenton terms. And so their response to the doctrine that we're justified by grace alone, through faith alone, on the basis of Christ, the gift of Christ's righteousness, God's righteousness to us, they just rejected it explicitly. It is not the righteousness of Christ. It's actually your action of believing the right doctrine, plus your works that justify you with God.
Yeah, but you think that if we reject PSA, we're rejecting the gospel. So isn't that the same exact critique? Double back onto you? You think a rejection of PSA sends you to hell. So I don't know. Is that just me, or is this just blatantly hypocritical?
I think it's blatantly hypocritical. It's also just not what the teaching is.
Right. Exactly.
When I saw that, I was like, I can't be here.
Now, please. So,
Father Stephen says, why did they reject it if that's what they were teaching then? Yeah, his story doesn't make any sense. His timelines are just constantly shifting.
It's the tiniest bit. Yeah, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I say the tiniest bit of scrutiny and this whole thing falls apart, right? Like what he was just complaining about the Council of Dositheus, or the Confession of Dositheus, saying that it's not Christ that justifies us. Is that what he was saying?
Yeah.
I have Decree 13 pulled up from the Father Josiah's Rock and Sand. He has the Confession of Dositheus at the end. So this is like a real translation where, let's take 30 seconds and read it out. He says, we believe a man to be not simply justified through faith alone, but through faith, which works through love. That is to say, through faith and works, which faith that works through love is right out of the Bible, is right out of Galatians. But the notion that faith fulfilling the function of a hand layeth hold on the righteousness which is in Christ and applieth it unto us for salvation, we know to be far from all orthodoxy. So your faith in your heart and in your mind, it's not the same function as a hand. You have to actually work it out and do things. And I think the important line here, he goes on to say, we rather believe that it is not the correlative of faith, but the faith which is in us justifies through works with Christ. You can have all the works, all the faith that you want. If you don't have Christ, this is what the Confession of Dositheus teaches. If you don't have Christ, none of it matters. It's this. It's exactly what the Bible says. Like, look, your works without faith are filthy rags. Your faith without works is dead. You need both, and without Christ, they don't really mean anything.
Right. Absolutely. Well, it's like you said earlier, he is intentionally misrepresenting the position so he can have some kind of rhetorical counterpoint. Because none of the points he's making has any kind of intellectual rigor behind it. It's all rhetoric, and it's all empty rhetoric. If he was pressed even a little bit in any kind of back and forth, none of this would hold up because he's lying. He knows he's lying.
That's why I say if you would have just read through this once, you would know that that's not what the Confession of Dositheus teaches. That's why I think he's lying on purpose.
Yeah, yeah, I think he does know. Yeah, absolutely. I
How
agree
could you
with
not? Like,
Right.
it's just I just skimmed through it before coming on the stream, and I found that that's
Right.
like set aside years of actual serious study in a seminary.
Yeah. Well, this would be like me saying the reformers all believed women could be priests and pastors. This is why you see priests and pastors everywhere in the Protestant churches today. Like, rhetorically, it's like, oh, there are women priests and pastors everywhere in the Protestant churches. But you push back a little bit. Wait a minute, they didn't have them back then. You know what I mean? It's just dumb. Father Stephen DeYoung destroyed their scapegoat understanding of PSA in a convo with Orthodox Jew Jacob
Federecci, yes,
Okay.
that's a great clip. That's a wonderful clip. I think it was a Baptist pastor, maybe, that was having a conversation with Father Stephen. It was a dialogue, and it was just an absolute clinical masterclass in not only good theology, but also good rhetoric. It's very, very good. Masterful, yes. I mean, that's enough good. I know Father Stephen doesn't like flattery. I'm going to end it there.
So was that very hard for you?
Yeah, it was heartbreaking. It was my whole life. I mean, I was a priest. A pastor. I love my people. I like the liturgy. I mean, of course, I have my problems. Everybody has their problems. There's no perfect church, on earth in that sense. And but I was on wonderful terms with my bishop. I got along very well with my brother pastors, and it was wonderful. I had been publishing academic articles on theology, and it seemed like everything was wonderful. It was a great time. I still have pain in my heart from that separation, even though I know that I did the right thing and that I had to do it for the sake of conscience and for the sake of the gospel itself. But to separate myself from those that I loved and who loved me was very painful.
And for the sake of the gospel itself. So in his opinion, PSA. So abandon everyone that you feel you were called to be a shepherd over for PSA, for one theological principle. That's it. This is the problem with obsessing over this nonsense, dude. And notice how everybody who's obsessed with PSA, this is the one issue they hyper focus on, and they'll make an entire platform, an entire brand on championing this stupid doctrine. And it drives them insane because the Orthodox Church does not teach this, even years after the fact, right? He spent, 12 years, Orthodoxy said? Even years after the fact. I don't know how long it's been at this point. Anybody know? But he's still talking about it. My interview with him was a year ago, I don't know. So however long ago. And he's still talking about it to this very day, every single interview. So he's still obsessed with PSA. So when you see people who have hyper focused on this, no, it's a spiritual sickness. This isn't something that's normal, right? I mean, it's like somebody coming into the church and saying, I want to join the Orthodox Church, but I'm just going to hold on to sola scriptura, right? Like I'm going to be the sola scriptura Orthodox guy. I'm going to be Orthodox, but I'm going to oppose the church's teaching on sola scriptura. I think Scripture is the highest authority, and everybody else is fallible, right? How long do you think you're going to last? I mean, maybe a long time, but maybe not. Eventually, this is where you end up.
Would those brother pastors that you mentioned that you so appreciated, would they still regard you as a Christian, and or would you regard them as Christians?
This is a good point Rebecca makes. The thing that makes me the most sad is he was trying to teach the flock he was put in charge of his PSA obsession by sneaking it into his catechism by his own admission. Very true. Very true. Absolutely.
That's like, I'm going to stop right there. I'm starting to get worked up at this point.
Don't get worked up, Alex. Don't get worked up. Don't do it.
But I find that interesting because all the liturgical texts don't speak this way. And so anybody who has discernment would realize very quickly that what they're hearing in the liturgical text is not what he's talking about. So, I mean, that's a bold strategy for him, but really, I'm a little bit surprised that, I mean, imagine, the love of God this is our liturgical tradition, liturgical practice, and you hear it over and over again in our liturgical text. So again, he's trying to plant something into some people who are going to hear nothing but the opposite when they go to church. So I don't know how far he thought he was going to get. That's my assessment.
Well,
good point.
I mean, unfortunately, you still see his ilk today. So, the Latinizers are still out and about. This is like a spiritual cancer, and they're going to go through the same thing that this gentleman went through. I mean, it's a spiritual battle. I mean, imagine that somebody who's impressionable, they're just coming into the Orthodox Church. This is their priest. This is their catechist, and he's teaching things that are in exact opposition to the Orthodox faith, and he's setting them up for failure. Right? I mean, I can only imagine what was said in private to these people. Oh, the bishops are modernists. Oh, don't
be very.
We're on the side.
I'd
of the
be
Father.
very curious what he would have to say, or how he preached on the Sunday of the Prodigal Son. Do you know what I mean? I mean, if anything speaks against that, it's that parable.
That is an excellent point. Who took on the punishment for the prodigal son within that parable?
Right.
He just forgave him. The father just forgave him.
Father Deacon Ananias says, I knew Joshua Schooping, but he says he can't come on because he's practicing guitar and mandolin. Unacceptable. You have to come on right now. No, I'm just kidding.
Should I hold this?
Yeah, we're going to jam out.
If I help this, it won't work. You won't be able to hear this. But if Father Deacon Ananias, just hold it, and you can come on.
Yeah, there you go. We'll do the review. Everybody's got to hold an instrument. I got to go grab my guitar too.
Well, I got another one here. I got this one.
Nice.
Show and tell.
Start blasting it into the microphone. Make all the viewers deaf.
Careful what you wish for.
Well, the dirty little secret of a lot of Eastern Orthodoxy is that many of the priests do not agree with their own canons. They don't read them, if at all. They don't read them much, if at all. I talked with many priests, and I'd say, well, what do you think about, in my process of this examination, I'd come across this or that. Like, for example, in the Seventh Ecumenical Council, they define the word anathema. The council defines how they're using the word anathema as eternal separation from God. It's a curse. That's how they define it there. It's not me trying to impose an artificial definition on it. That's the one they give for it. And then they say, if you don't bow to icons or kiss icons with strong desire, then you're anathema. You're cursed. And I'd ask them, I say, if people don't, do you believe that the people are cursed if they refuse to bow to icons? They say, no, I don't really believe that. I'm not going to out anybody on that, but I can tell you that very, very many of the priests that I talk to, when it comes down to so many of these details, the details by which they will also claim solidifies and guarantees that they are the one true church, they'll just take issue with them. So
you know what he's doing though? He's having a couple of things on this, because this is snake-like behavior. What he's doing is he's taking advice that people give to inquirers, saying, look, if you're visiting the church and you're uncomfortable venerating the icons at first, that's okay. Just go along with the motions. We could talk about this stuff later. He's taking that and he's making it seem like the priests are saying you don't have to venerate the icons, which is a lie. This is what Nicaea 2 teaches. And he also misquoted Nicaea 2, the minutes of Nicaea 2, rather, because I know exactly where he's citing this from because I had a conversation with him on this exact topic. This is the letter to the Empress Irene, and it says, now anathema means nothing less than complete separation from Christ, right? And what this actually means is you don't have the Eucharist because you're outside of the church. Complete separation from Christ in the Eucharist. That's what it means. Anathema set the borders of the church. Of course, that's what it means. Right? This is ridiculous. Right? The Orthodox Church is the ark of salvation, right? You want the Eucharist, you want the sacraments, you have to be within the church. Okay. Now, this doesn't mean that God can't, somehow have mercy on you extra normatively or something like this. But normatively, salvation is found within the church. So this language shouldn't be shocking, right? But what he's doing is he's taking like something a priest might say to somebody who's brand new until they get comfortable with it. Like, you don't have to venerate the icons until you're comfortable. Like, we'll talk about it. We'll work through these things. We'll have a couple of meetings or whatever. And he's saying like, they just don't even know what their church teaches. It's ridiculous. Sorry, Father Ron, go ahead.
Well, no, it's just St. Paul was always harder on the insiders. Right? So and don't misunderstand me when I say that. It's exactly what you said, Ben, that once you're on the inside, it changes. But, people who are inquiring, I mean, I tell people who are brand new to the parish, I mean, if they're just inquirers just walking in off the street, don't do anything. Just stand there and listen. Don't worry about, because they ask, well, is there any kind of things I have to do or have to say, or no, just be present. Don't worry about anything. And then we work towards those things if they want to join and all that stuff. But no, you don't come and just say, and by the way, everybody, the minute you walk in, you are going to be venerating each and every icon on a stand in here. That's not going to work.
Says, so now being a lib is good, huh?
Well, I think that's the move a lot of people are taking now on this side of the aisle, is to just try to relativize everything. Like, this is their new polemic against us, is they're trying to say, oh, the Roman Catholics, the Anglicans, the Calvinists, the Lutherans, they're all on good terms. They all think they're all equally Christians. They just disagree on some things on the borders. But you Orthodox, you guys actually believe in objective truths. That's like a big problem for them.
Yeah. Well,
and they just take this approach where they relativize everything.
Well, one of the things that convinced me as a Protestant was just examining the canons of the ecumenical councils, like he's saying right here. What the canons of the ecumenical councils say is, if you don't believe ABC 1, 2, 3, right, you reject these things, you're willfully rejecting them, you are anathema, right? Like, you're outside of the church. Well, wait a minute. What churches still hold to the anathemas? What churches still commemorate the anathemas liturgically? Oh, wait, there's only one of them, right? This is the Orthodox Church, because not the Roman Catholics. They don't do it anymore. Right? They might give lip service to anathemas, but they don't commemorate it liturgically. And they think that Protestants are like separated brethren and things like this. You know what I mean? It's a complete deviation.
But Vatican I says that if you don't accept Vatican I, you're anathema.
Right. Right. This is the thing.
They don't want to have any theological commitments. But one more thing I wanted to mention about Nicaea too is that, like, every council throughout history is immediately facing a practical problem, like whether it be Nestorianism or Arianism or monophysitism or something. There's a practical problem. And the response of Nicaea II is, the immediate response is to iconoclasts. What the council is saying is that if you're an iconoclast, you cannot be in the church. Right. So obviously that principle, that dogma stays with the church, but we can't separate it from the facts of the immediate case, the thing that they were immediately addressing at that time. Right. So when that council convened, it was against like a very clear sect that was like attacking the church. That council wasn't written in response to, 1,000 years later. You have people that for hundreds of years have grown up in a tradition of Lutheranism with absolutely no knowledge of orthodoxy at all. At the time Nicaea II happened, everybody knew that there was, one true church. It was just a matter of, am I with the iconoclasts or with the iconodules? So we can't like separate ourselves from the immediate facts of the situation.
Orthodox Mickey, $10 says, it's always PSA. Very true. PSA drives you insane. It is insanity juice. $20 super chat. Thank you so much. If anyone is interested, the most insane thing I found in my PSA studies is the OSB versus NKJV,
Oh, yeah.
Isaiah 53, 10 through 11, Isaiah 53, 3 through 4. Cleve, can you please pull that up? Father Ron, you're awesome. OSB versus New King James. Doesn't the OSB use the New King James?
In the Old Testament, it's an original translation based off of the Brenton Septuagint. But I think what the super chat, what FPV is getting at, is that within the Greek textual tradition, it doesn't say anything to the effect of "it pleased the Father to crush him." That is something you see only in the Hebrew textual tradition.
That's correct.
Yeah. So the idea is like, I don't think we need to run from that language, though. I think that when it says it pleased the Father to crush him, it shows a unity of wills. In fact, it doesn't show that any will is put against the other. And it also just ties into the doctrine of kenosis, that Christ, he did make himself vulnerable to the blameless passions by emptying himself, as you see in Philippians 2. I think that kenosis passage, really, the only doctrine of God that can even account for that is the Orthodox worldview. So in order to understand Isaiah 53 in a way that makes sense, you can understand it in a way that makes sense in both the Greek and Hebrew traditions, but you need the Orthodox view, the Orthodox framework. You can't otherwise.
Latinized diorite. What a username. How do we understand satisfaction language in Isaiah 53? Whoa, we just talked about that right here. So that question was just answered a moment ago. See, you got psyoped because you're reading versions from one language, not the other, right? You're reading the later editions anyway. And in patristics, whoa, my advice to you, get off of Discord and stop getting your theology from furries online. In addition to St. Simeon, what should I read on satisfaction specifically? That was mostly a joke. Okay. I don't want to be super patronizing to you, but a lot of times what these dudes will do, if they're trying to cite you patristics talking about penal substitutionary atonement, they don't use the exact language, right? Like they're not talking about like the Father damned the Son, so on and so forth. So how are we defining PSA? That would be the first question. Because in order for you to break this presupposition, you're going to have to learn how to think critically, which is something that I think a lot of people miss out on. For instance, if you were to read read a text or something, and somebody has already set you up for accepting this kind of presupposition from a penal substitutionary framework. Okay. So they want you to buy into penal substitutionary atonement. They've talked it up beforehand and they're saying, so on and so forth. And then they send you some quote that says the Father's wrath or something, like the Father has wrath. This is like some church father citation or something. Well, just because the quote says the Father like had wrath or something doesn't necessarily support penal substitutionary atonement. You would have to define that beforehand. You know what I'm talking about, Alex?
Yes. The way they talk about wrath is strange. They talk about it as if it's something like some energy, like some add extra to God. But on I was just looking up something for Isaiah 53. There was a really good broadcast from Ancient Faith, and the program is called Ancient Faith Today Live, with Father Thomas Sorka, I think is his last name. Father Thomas Sorka. If you just type in on YouTube Isaiah 53 Ancient Faith, he has like a 1-hour podcast explaining how to harmonize the Hebrew text tradition and the Greek text tradition on Isaiah 53. Yeah. So I typed in Isaiah 53 Ancient Faith, and it was literally the first one that popped up for me. Right. And that's a really good resource.
Yep. Go check that out, and then check out Father Stephen DeYoung's book on PSA when that comes out soon.
I'm looking at the word in the Septuagint. I don't know if it's the version you're talking about, Alex, but in Isaiah 53, the word is he wants to cleanse him from his plague.
Yes.
And so
I think you did a Bible study on this also, Father Ron,
right? A little bit. I talked about it, but then I'm looking at the word plague in Isaiah, and then Isaiah, where was I here? Kind of interesting. Is in Isaiah, I think it's 19:22. Let's have a look at that. Yeah. That's kind of an interesting. Do you know this one?
Well, I was
this-
I was just reacting to this comment from Naval Orange Gazer, who said that might have been the episode where Orthodox Ensign was in the comments, and Father Tom just absolutely sat him down.
Oh, I gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm in the wrong place. Anyway, please continue. I must have not looked in the correct place. So maybe I can find it, maybe not. Don't worry about it.
No worries at all. Prots can't accept icon veneration, intercession, and theosis because they have no saints at all to honor. Chicken and egg issue, relying on intellect and maybe only prayer works like you did, Cleve. Yeah, well, I do think it. I think it is a spiritual issue. You know what I mean? Because I had all this information beforehand too. It wasn't like I all of a sudden was like, aha, right? Like, of course, there were little chips and cracks in the armor intellectually that led me up to making the prayer in the first place. But I mean, I swear it was like scales fell from my eyes, and I was able to see, like, the information came to life. Does that make sense? Like, the information was able to be put in its proper place. Like the framework fell into place. It was already there. I had all of the information. But you know, Theotokos is awesome. I love our Blessed Mother. But anyway, yeah, I do think a lot of times it is a spiritual issue, but a lot of people are convinced intellectually. So let's not discount, you know, the weight of making these types of arguments, and, you know, really showing Protestants, you know, just how the entire Orthodox framework kind of clicks into place. A lot of things, I think for Protestants, the easiest way, and I think this would be very convincing for people who have never actually read the canons of the ecumenical councils, is just pull up the first ecumenical council. This would be my advice. Pull up the first ecumenical council and look at what the canons actually say. Okay. And ask them a question. Do you have the same faith as the Christians at the time of Nicaea? Because the church fathers contemporary to the time of Nicaea and shortly after, they say the faith handed down at the Council of Nicaea. The faith handed down at Nicaea. They said, this is the faith. Okay, so I've had people push back and say, well, they're not talking about the faith. They're talking about little issues in the faith, tertiary issues in the faith. No, that's not the case. They're saying this is the faith, okay? So check out the canons of the First Ecumenical Council. It says a couple of things. First off, it presupposes the existence of bishops, because there are canons on what bishops can and cannot do. Okay, so it presupposes bishops. It presupposes penances, right? Do you believe in penances? Does your church have penances? Okay, it presupposes real presence in the Eucharist and final communion, right? These are all things within this ecumenical council. It presupposes one visible church institution. One holy, Catholic, apostolic. We're not talking about branch theory, a bunch of different institutions that aren't even in formal communion with each other. No, it's one institution that's in communion with itself. Right. So do you have the faith of Nicaea? Just looking at those basic factors, this is a super easy kill shot for just about any Protestant. If they're genuine and they are willing to do some self-reflection, that's a good thing to put forth, I think. Oh, here you go. I was just pointing at the Masoretic text looking like a bitterness and wrath framework PSA-ish. They even use Psalm 22, wild, Lord have mercy.
Yeah, Psalm 22 is the worst, because like it starts off, my God, why have you forsaken me? And then you read a few verses later and it's like, but I know you will never forsake me, Lord.
Right.
It's like, did you read the entire psalm or?
So I did find what I was looking for. Can I just say this? Okay, check my work. Let's look at it this way. So with regard to this plague, in the Septuagint, you have Isaiah 53, 3 and 4, where, and if I look at that in English, because let's just see how they translate it, because this is very interesting to me. So in verse 3, okay, that's probably, they're probably using Hebrew. So how it works in 53 in the Septuagint is you have in 53:3 and 53:4, you have his appearance was dishonored, and then where's the word plague here? A man being in a wound, in a plague. So his appearance was dishonored and forsaken by all the sons of men. A man being in a plague and knowing how to bear sickness. So it's talking about how he was, disfigured. And then it says, this one bears our sins and suffers a pain for, oh yeah, the 54. I'm just looking for the word plague here real quick. Oh, down here. Okay. Yeah, this one bears our sins and suffers pain for us, and we accounted him to be in trouble and in a plague and harm. And then down in 53:10, I'm just looking at this. It says the Lord wants to cleanse him from his plague. So I don't know if that changes anything. I'm just looking at how the word plague carries through in Isaiah. I was looking in other places as well. Any comments?
I think it ties into, like, in Matthew, this is a point Father Stephen makes, that in Matthew, when Christ is going around healing the diseased and the injured and the sick, that's when Matthew says that Isaiah 53 is fulfilled, in the sense that, like, he bore our iniquities, by his stripes we are healed. You know, that's when Matthew says it's fulfilled. But in healing them, it doesn't mean that he needed to take on those diseases and sicknesses and illnesses. Like, if he's going to heal someone who had to have their leg amputated or something, it doesn't mean Christ needs to lose a leg. Like, that's when it says it's fulfilled. It's in that sense. So, I mean, no matter how you look at Isaiah 53, if you know, the phrase that Protestants like to use, let the Bible interpret the Bible. Well, if you do that, you don't get double imputation. You don't get PSA.
That's true. Yeah. Well, I mean, if you're letting the Bible interpret the Bible, right, you're going to have to hold the theosis, right? You're going to have to hold to all sorts of stuff that you wouldn't hold to otherwise. And for Protestants that don't believe in the harrowing of hell, I mean, that's right there in the Bible as well. I mean, all sorts of stuff that you don't see until you take the presuppositional goggles off. FPV says, yes, Father Ron for the win. Get some Father Ron fans in the chat.
Did I win something? Just kidding.
You won the hearts of the listeners.
You know what? I won one thing in my life, and you won't believe what I won one time.
What?
I was, before I was a respiratory therapist, I was taking classes in survey technology. And so this is going back right out of high school, 40 years. And they pulled my ticket. I won a Texas Mickey. Do you know what that is?
No.
It's a massive bottle of Canadian Club whiskey. Like, it's like fans. I have to go off camera.
That's awesome. You still have it?
No, but it comes with a pump on top.
No way.
So you don't pour it, you pump it out. So
that's awesome.
Anyway, it's one thing I remember winning.
Right. Let's get back into the Schooping. Let's see what else he has to say. What else is he going to say next? What deep insights is the Orthodox expert here going to convey to us?
Choose and cherry pick. My wife would end up calling them the cherry pick in church. They cherry pick canons, they cherry pick councils, and they cherry pick church fathers so that they can essentially construct an Eastern Orthodoxy of their own making.
But none of them can pick Cyril Lucar. That's not allowed.
Correct. Except he is considered a saint now. He's Saint Cyril Lucaris. So
Which
go
is
figure.
a contradiction to the Jerusalem Council.
Yeah, isn't it? Yeah. And that's the mess of the Eastern Orthodox Church. It's an actual cacophony. It's like trying to pin Jello to the wall. They don't know what they believe.
Okay, so you in that crucial moment came to understand that the Jerusalem Council and what it said is a denial of the gospel, an undermining of the gospel.
Yeah.
And what it said about justification. So the follow-on question, and this to some extent gets us to our user's guide. How do we understand how does Eastern Orthodoxy understand what that council said relative to the authority of Scripture, and what authority does that council have? Is that authority of that council binding on all churches? Is to be Orthodox today? I mean, I affirm all of the councils, like in a Roman Catholic conception. So, and here we're kind of getting to your questions, Mark, about what does it mean to be autocephalous, and how does all of that work? And can I go to an Orthodox church that denies the Jerusalem Council and it's still considered faithful? Or do you understand how I'm asking? How does church structure?
Yeah.
Church structure feeds into this. How do we put all that together?
Yeah. And you're touching on an incredibly important question, and it's the question of authority in the Eastern Orthodox Church. Because there's a popular myth that only the 7 ecumenical councils are universally binding. And that's more of a myth, and it's more of a modern myth, especially promulgated by Anglicans and former Anglicans. One of the ways that Anglicans would try to legitimize themselves would be by trying to affirm these 7 ecumenical councils so that they could try to say that they are also...
I wanted to say something about the Cyril Lucaris thing, because this is
Me
kind
too.
of... Oh, go ahead, Alex.
Well, I was going to say there's a very... I forgot which jurisdiction it is, but it's a very tiny jurisdiction that did not canonize him for... Well, first of all, Cleve, is Saint Cyril Lucaris on your calendar?
No. This is
on my calendar. He's not on my calendar.
He's a hieromartyr in the Alexandria.
Yes,
So only there.
it's because he died as a martyr. And moreover, like I said, I reviewed the Confession of Dositheus before this, and I'm open to correction on this. Maybe there's something I'm missing here, but from what I read, it does not appear to personally condemn Cyril Lucaris. He just described exactly what he did. Yeah, I agree with that. But I don't think it personally condemns Cyril Lucaris. It condemns every single thing that his supposed confession believes. And I wonder if the confession had in mind that, like, it is not a direct, they don't have a really direct connection between Cyril and his confession. And I think today, although what I understand is that we are leading towards it may have been his confession, but this is not something that's undisputed. This is something that is disputed within people that are experts on this topic. So the Confession of Dositheus, I'm pretty sure it does not personally condemn Cyril Lucaris. It condemns everything in the supposed confession of Cyril Lucaris. And he's not universally recognized as a saint. There's one small jurisdiction that has canonized him as a martyr because he died for the faith.
Right. Yeah, so he's overplaying his hand. That's basically exactly what I was going to say. It's only this very specific location. He's a local martyr, right? He's venerated locally, right? This isn't across the entire Orthodox Church. So there's no consensus on this. This is a local practice, as well as like what you said there. His teachings, his like kind of trying to bring in Calvinism, kind of sort of like what this gentleman was trying to do. Was condemned. So
yeah, and I guess the other point, he was saying that there's a myth that only the 7 ecumenical councils are universally binding. Have you ever said that, Cleve? I've very clearly said the opposite.
Yeah, right.
That there's the 7 ecumenical councils that are special because the number 7 is special, and they're kind of representative of that first 1,000 years. But you have the 8th ecumenical council, the 789 council. That is universally binding in our view. The Palamite synods are universally binding. Like you said earlier, the Council at Blackernay, universally binding. The Jerusalem Council, you'd say universally binding, although it doesn't have that ecumenical status. You do have to believe the Jerusalem Council. Pan-Orthodox synods are universally binding. We know this. Everybody knows this. This is not some secret. We're not trying to keep any secrets.
Right.
One of these ancient churches that affirms all these ancient ecumenical councils. But in the Eastern tradition, like if you talk to a Greek Orthodox person in Greece and you say how many councils that are binding are there that are ecumenical, I mean, they're going to count 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I mean, this is not even controversial. Look on Wikipedia or something like that. It's not even put on there by opponents. It's put on there by Eastern Orthodox, or Wiki, Ortho-Wiki, or whatever it is.
Can you pause for 1 second? Yes. I don't think he understands that a council can be universally binding and not ecumenical.
Mm-hmm.
That's well put, actually.
Well, he does understand this because he uses the same argument to say that even regional councils have to be affirmed and held to, so on and so forth, because that's what he said in the interview that he had with me. So he changes his view depending on who he's talking to and when it suits him. So
I see, because what he said right now sounds like he's confusing the two ideas.
Mm-hmm. Father Stephen DeYoung says, we're all watching evidence that it requires intelligence to be a good liar because this is a perfect counterexample. Very true. Yes. And this is a lie. He's not ignorant of this because go watch the video just a couple of days ago, right, Father Ron? We were reviewing the interview that he had with me, a while ago. And what he was saying there was the Orthodox even have to hold to the regional councils and all of their canons, but there are canons that they don't hold to anymore, like this and this and this. So it depends on what point he's trying to make. And he's basically just lying. So
there's multiple councils. And so, but we have different ways that they can become universally binding. So not all councils that are universally binding are ecumenical.
Oh,
and so for a church, for a council to become.
Yeah. So he contradicted himself within 5 minutes.
Yeah, because 2 seconds ago he said that there are many ecumenical councils. Some will say 7, some will say 9, some will say 11. I don't know.
Wild.
Binding universal.
He's probably going to do the Trullo Jewish doctor thing. I'm psychic. I'm going to make a prediction.
That set of canons actually works totally against him. I hope he brings that up and that we go into that briefly.
It has to be accepted universally.
You know, it's funny, when I brought that up as a Protestant, I'd have Orthodox saying, "Oh, I hold to that canon." Me personally.
If I see Stein or Green at the end of that name, I'm going to another office.
I'm not going to that doctor.
This is a joke, by the way. I don't actually mean that. I love my Jewish friends.
This is a joke. Yeah, I would say, your personal anti-Semitism doesn't mean you hold to the canons of the council. It's a completely different context, because they were doing rituals, dude. They were like, they were literally
like Kabbalah stuff. Yeah.
So going there is like a religious experience. Like, you're basically saying like you're an apostate. This would be like a Christian going to a witch doctor, you know?
So it can be on the front face of it universally binding by being ecumenical, or it can, by kind of like a side door, become universally binding by just being promulgated and therefore accepted by all of the autocephalous patriarchates.
Define autocephalous for us.
Autocephalous, it comes from the Greek auto, self, and cephalus, head. So that means that they're self-headed. They have their own patriarch, essentially.
Every congregation or every
jurisdiction, essentially. So you have like the Greek Orthodox jurisdiction, they're autocephalous, or you have.
They have each of the autocephalous churches have their own patriarch. Is that what he just said?
That's not true. They may all have a primate. That doesn't mean they all have a patriarch. It's like a basic mistake.
Yeah.
The Russian Orthodox,
Serbian, Bulgarian, etc., Antiochian, they're all autocephalous. They have their own patriarchal governing structure, and that autocephalous church is in communion with the other autocephalous church, except, of course, the Constantinople and Moscow. They're in schism right now, which technically is supposed to be impossible, but it's possible because it's happened. It's real. And so you have these universally binding councils, and this was even published famously at the Cretan Council in, 2016, 2017, where they had 10 patriarchates putting out this encyclical saying, this Jerusalem.
I want Other Paul to respond to his weird Anglican conspiracy theory. Orthodoxy was Calvinist until 1950, when the Anglicans ruined everything.
Yeah, I'm still on good terms with the Other Paul. I should maybe I could do a collab with him or something and be like, hey, do you think that the Eastern churches, that they were Calvinist up until 1950? You think St. Gregory Palamas, does he strike you as Calvinist at all? Or did he disagree with the West on like basic things like, say, your doctrine of God, maybe?
Yeah. Did you see Other Paul's response video to your debate today?
No, not yet. Should
I
not be friends with him anymore?
He was live streaming it. He was like, Alex totally lost. What an idiot. No,
of course he's gonna say that. I mean, I said that I won. So
true. He's like, everybody knows I won the debate. Me, Other Paul.
Of course he's gonna say that.
I can't do a good Australian accent, but if I'm gonna pretend to be Protestant.
Actually, I won the debate because even my Roman Catholic friends who say that icon veneration is not apostolic, they said I won, which is 3 of them, 1033 AD and DoorDash Thomist and some guy from Discord. Okay, so I won.
I'm still waiting on Father Stephen's full feedback on it. If he says that I sucked on something, then it's probably accurate information. I don't think he's going to tell me that I did well on something when I did actually poorly. So
he will absolutely give you good critical feedback. 100%.
Yeah, like, this was good, Alex. Here you were an idiot.
No, I think you did. I think you did really good. The one point that I think was the kill shot for Other Paul was when he said the honor passes when you're venerating an icon, the honor passes to a demon, but it can't pass to Christ. Like, it's impossible to pass to Christ.
Well, that's textbook special pleading.
Right. Exactly.
It applies, but not for this one special situation.
Well, that refutes his whole position, though. So if he were to say the honor cannot pass to Christ, but it can pass to demons, that refutes his entire position.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense.
I agree. But I guess that's not relevant. You know, that's what has become the polemic against my victory in my debate with the Other Paul, is they say, oh, he asked not relevant things. Well, hold on a minute. Am I allowed to ask him about his counter arguments? Yes, obviously I am. You opened the door.
Right. Well, his whole counter argument to the curtains in the temple and all this stuff was like,
Well, what if they were thinking about something else other than the angels right in their face? What if they were thinking about eating a big old whopperoonie? Like that was it. Like, what if they were thinking about something else? It's a stupid argument. What are you talking about?
And
It's like, what if I was
speculation.
standing?
It's speculation.
Look, what if I was going like this to my icon, but I'm actually thinking about like the Geico gecko or something? Like, well, you can't know what was inside their brains, Alex. They could have been,
Well, there's a
It's just-
commenter on X that made a really good point, and he said, wait, hold on. The altar of incense was in the second temple as well, right? Right. And they offered up incense in the second temple as well, right? Right. Well, they didn't have the Ark of the Covenant. They didn't have the cherubim statues. The Holy of Holies was empty at the time of the second temple. The only thing there is the veil with the cherubim. That's the only thing there. What else could they be thinking about?
Yeah, exactly.
Obviously, it's given up to the cherubim as intermediaries to take the prayers up to God.
Remember, this is what it takes to remain Protestant. You have to think that the Old Testament Jews, when worshiping in the temple, staring at a big giant image of a cherubim, were thinking about literally anything else than the cherubim while they were engaging in worship. That's what it takes. You have to go that far. This is insanity. Ace says, remember that kissing your wife is idolatry since she's an image of Christ, and having kids is literally making graven image. Whoa, that's a good argument.
Well, if he said it doesn't pass, the honor given to the image doesn't pass when it's an image of Christ. I didn't think about that for a second.
Yeah.
We are images of Christ. So if I honor you, Cleve, or if my fellow man on the street, if I see that he's hungry and needs clothes and I feed him and I clothe him, you're telling me that doesn't pass to Christ? That's a rejection of the gospel in its entirety.
Yeah, Matthew 25.
Matthew 25. That's a rejection of the gospel in its entirety.
Actually, that's
It's wrathful and hateful versus healing and justice.
He's talking about I think he was still
PSA.
talking about Matthew or Isaiah 53.
Daniel Hartness says Ben must play Dark Souls as penance for Minecraft. I suck at Dark Souls, dude. That would be penance. That would be torture for me because I am not a Dark Souls fan and I suck at that game. Bloodborne, I can play that. Elden Ring, I can play that. Dark Souls, I stink. And I do not like, I get very frustrated at games that have like super long walks for no reason. Like the part of the game being hard and taking a long time is just that there's no quality of life features. That's annoying to me. I don't like wasting my time. It literally makes me upset. So that would be penance. That is a good penance. Proof texting will commence until morale improves.
I don't know why I'm laughing. That's a good one.
That is a good one. Profound Bean says, I break my wall if I played the Souls game. So true. PSA or Bloodborne seems like the PSA version of Dark Souls. It's just an easier Dark Souls with less long walks. That's all it is. You die a whole bunch, but the walks are short, so I can endure it. All right, let's see what else he has to say here.
Council of 1672 is universally authoritative. They describe it as universally authoritative. I didn't describe it as universally authoritative because I wanted to make the deduction. They described it as universally authoritative.
Okay, so and where I'm going with all of this is to sort of prepare the ground for the next episode when we're thinking about the guy from our church, person from our church, going to some local.
The cherubim were in the second temple, and my wife platinum trophied Elden Ring. I brag about her. Based.
The cherubim statues wasn't Father Stephen. I think it was the account that Josephus recalled. I forgot if it was the Greek guy or the Roman guy that went into the Holy of Holies, because there were two pagans that went into the Holy of Holies. I think it was the Roman general who went in there and he said that he saw nothing. But the cherubim on the veil were absolutely in the second temple.
Interesting.
Maybe I'm wrong. I could obviously be wrong about that. I don't know.
Come on,
to the best of my memory.
Come on the stream and debate Alex. No.
Well, let me check myself first on my Josephus book around here. But
there you go.
That's my memory, is that Josephus records that the Roman, I think it was the Roman emperor, went into the temple, not the Roman emperor, the Roman general went into the Holy of Holies, and he said that he saw nothing. Yeah,
Father Stephen
Pompey.
says-
Oh, he
yeah,
meant
yeah.
no central idol. Okay, so then the two big cherubim statues were still there. It was just there was no ark. Okay,
Mm.
I see.
Finding biblical imagery in Elden Ring and Minecraft stream. Win. What biblical imagery would be in Minecraft? I don't understand. Unless
Can I
I craft a giant cross.
Can I briefly say though that if the cherubim statues were still there, which it appears that they were, that only helps our case more, because the thing that's representing the seed of God present in the Holy of Holies, that's the only thing that's missing. Otherwise, the only thing there are cherubim to receive the offering of the altar of incense. So
He says after AD 70, the cherubim were put on display in Antioch.
okay, well then, yes. I am fully persuaded now. My position has changed.
Congregation, Eastern Orthodox congregation. Should we assume that the person going to that congregation, that congregation views itself as bound, therefore, by all of these councils, such as the Jerusalem Council, or not?
And Joshua, just to make this super clear to you, I assume this is clear to you, but just to make it clear to you, in a Baptist church, this is a great concern because we are high on the visibility of the church. And we believe that if someone leaves our church to join a church like a PCUSA church or a Lutheran Church Missouri Synod, that if that church, by its own official definitions and by the practice of that particular congregation they join, if they preach the gospel, they leave with our blessing, our encouragement in Christ. They're always welcome back. If, however, they leave to join a church that preaches a different gospel, if they were to join the Mormons, if they were to join the Roman Catholic Church, which at Trent has anathematized, but we understand to be our only hope, if they were to join the liberal mainline Protestant church that denies the physical resurrection, or that's universalistic and denies the reality of God's eternal judgment, then we would understand that they are effectively forfeiting the faith. And we do not have the option of simply allowing them peacefully to leave. Now, we will be civil to them, of course, but we will, as a church, we will vote either unanimously or near unanimously to excommunicate them. So this becomes a very
Excommunicate. You don't have communion, though. You're a Baptist.
So I was thinking, he's talking about we are big on the visibility of the church. What? The invisible church, guys? You're telling me you're big on the visibility of the church?
Well, I mean, Baptists have open communion. They'll have anybody come in and take their communion. So how are you excommunicating anyone? You're not. You mean you're trespassing them from your church property?
Yes,
basically.
that's exactly right. They are trespassing them from the property. You're exactly right, Cleve.
That's all it is. It's not an excommunication. You know, when I realized that, I was having a conversation with my priest, and I said, yeah, he was talking about church discipline, and he said, well, you know, you were non-denominational. You guys didn't have any of the canons of the ecumenical council, so there weren't disciplinary canons or anything. So how did you do church discipline? I'm like, well, we did have to excommunicate a guy one time because of ABC 123, and he was saying, you mean trespass them. You don't, he left it at that, and I thought about it. I'm like, dang, he's right.
It's like, what are you going to do? You're just going to call the cops if he shows up and say we have revoked his right to be here.
Right. Yeah. Because, I mean, you have open communion. I mean, anybody that comes in could take communion at a Baptist church. But, yeah, that's
I love how Leco Joe 77 in the comments put it. He says, we have voted you off the island.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. So, yeah, if you reject, basically what he's saying, when you hear these guys say gospel, what they're saying is PSA. If somebody joins a church that's rejecting PSA, then they've rejected the gospel, right? That's basically it. Joe Suarez, $10. I came across a channel, Biblical Understanding. Yeah, low tier channel. He seemingly points out good refutations against orthodoxy. Can you review his top 3 reasons why the early church was not Eastern Orthodox? I'm down at some point to do some responses to this guy. What do you think?
I mean, I'll do it, but I'm trying to review grown-ups like Schooping, not a Zoomer like.
Yeah,
trying
but
to deal with adults here.
Well, this is the same guy that Wes Huff has been promoting as like the #1 Protestant now.
Are you for real?
Yes. Wes Huff is trying to say this guy is like the best because he made a video that said Ignatius of Antioch was a Protestant.
Hey, Biblical Understanding, let's do a formal debate, please. Please, let's do a formal debate. If that's the best they have,
bro,
all I need to do is knock out the best, right?
This channel is such nonsense slop. I'm not even being mean. I'm like, this is, I could say so much harsher things. But look, I'm just going to show you. I'm going to share this tab. This is this guy's channel. Okay, first off, all of his videos 2,000 views. Like nothing. Polycarp's disciples did not seek his intercession, which is a lie. Hold on. Where's the one that says, okay,
If he is the top guy, according to Westhoff, please, let's do a formal debate.
This was the video that Westhoff has actually shared a couple of his, and notice how Westhoff has like what? How many subscribers? I don't know. He's
a trillion.
Big, yeah, a zillion subscribers. He gives him a shout out, gives him multiple shout outs, and he's only got 9K subs from all those shout outs. This is the dude he's like #1. He's the best. Anyway, look, he makes videos called "Why Ignatius of Antioch Should Make You Protestant." This is the stupidest. This is the stupidest thing I've ever seen in my life. If
the
you
guy who said if you follow the one who makes a schism, you might as well be like on a one-way ticket to hell. Sorry to interrupt you, but I feel very passionately about that one. That is ridiculous. That is utterly ridiculous.
He makes the argument. He makes the argument that Ignatius of Antioch proves Protestantism. This is ridiculous. Yeah, if you schism, you're going to hell. This is what Ignatius of Antioch says.
Meanwhile, their whole Protestant movement is based on schism. The whole thing.
Yeah, well, he also says, well, this guy's a Presbyterian. You know what else Ignatius says? Where the bishop is, there the church is.
Well, why, if he's Presbyterian, why did they start their own church? Why don't they go join the Reformed Church?
Oh my goodness, dude. This is, it's like, anyway, I can't, yeah. Sorry.
Westhoff has 912,000 subscribers. And by the way, if I could get 400 views on one of my videos, I'd be pretty happy.
No. For his subscriber to watch ratio is not very good.
Yeah. You're right, Ben. I'm aiming for 1,000 still. So
typically the sweet spot is like 30% viewership subscriber to, or it's either 20 or 30. If it's 20, then he's doing okay. But if it's 30, then he's not doing too well. So he's like at the low end of normal, I guess, for being the #1 guy. You would expect more, was my point. JB, they cite guys with iconographic images of them in liturgical vestments. LOL.
Really?
True.
That's a good point. He had vestments on the thumbnail. Where is vestments?
Funny how ever I started doing catechism, I've been seeing more orthodoxy debunked vids. LOL, yeah. BU dropped Ignatius proves Protestantism vid. Yeah, it's low tier slop. Biblical understanding, you want to debate Alex Sorin, come and do it.
If it is true that Westhoff said he is the top debater, I'll debate him. Otherwise, I don't debate kids. I debate adults.
And Emily says, $10 super chat. Just want to push you over the line. I'm giving up the internet during Holy Week. So blessed Pascha to Cleve, Alex, and Father Ron. Thanks for helping me hit goal. What should I do here? Let's see. I'll do a scream. How about that? We'll go classic. Thank you for the super chat. I really appreciate it. All right, let's go back to Joshua Schooping.
Yes.
Are you cool if we go a little long, Alex?
Yes.
I've got some energy left.
There was a comment I liked earlier on that said he was shooping around for bishops.
Yeah. True.
Very live question for us as Baptists with Eastern Orthodoxy. Do we treat them as a disorganized body in which there are a minority of people?
Couldn't help but notice you subscribed. You're subscribed to Biblical Understanding. Hiding something, Cleve? Yeah, I'm his #1 fan, actually. No.
How else is he going to find out what to react to?
Correct. I subscribe to all the Protestant apologetics guys, all the Roman Catholic apologetics guys, so that way I have stuff to react to. This is the same thing I do on X. I follow all the people who make the slop arguments so I can react to them as well. This is why I follow Mark Levin and Laura Loomer. So I can say, Mark, you're insane. You know, I'll post something on there. Yeah, my subscriber list, or my subscribed list, is mostly people I disagree with. So yeah, anyway. That way my feed isn't clogged up with like Minecraft videos or something. You know what I mean? Like I use my feed for reactions and stuff.
Who would affirm we would take the gospel to be, and they can do that in good faith and order with their own traditions? Or do we treat it more like Rome, very centrally organized, which Trent has anathematized us, and except for the liberalization of Vatican II, the Lumen Gentium, that they haven't officially undone that, and by their very nature, they can't officially undo something that they have done at a conciliar level.
You set all that up so much more clearly than I did. Thank you.
So, Joshua, that's why this is so important for us to determine this question.
Yeah, and I think it's a very, very important question, even going forward for all churches to wrestle with, is how do they officially posture themselves in relation to Eastern Orthodox churches if someone goes to one of them. Now, 99% of people in Eastern Orthodox churches know nothing of any of this. Even the priests.
Which is this?
Like the Jerusalem Council of 1672, the multiple councils. Another universally binding council would be the 14th century councils that affirmed the theology of Gregory Palamas, which included all of his doctrines of Mary. They'll know nothing of this. They will have maybe heard of Gregory Palamas. They'll say, well, yeah, we're supposed to agree with him. The second Sunday of Lent is kind of dedicated to Gregory Palamas. But then I've even found people who call themselves scholars amongst the Eastern Orthodox Church who say, oh, well, and then they kind of like hem and haw. They say, well, how do you know that you're the true church? Well, because of our councils. Well, then why don't you accept the councils? Well, hem and haw. And it's like, when I was a priest, that drove me nuts because it makes teaching impossible. So the question, is it binding? Yes. Do many of the people know it? No.
Would the so-called Athanasian...
What scholars is he talking about? He say, I talked to scholars, Orthodox scholars. They hemmed and hawed. These people don't know about Gregory Palamas. We just had a whole day dedicated to Gregory Palamas.
Yeah, it's not kind of.
This is craziness. He's lying, like blatant lies. Hey, you know who would be better to have on there, guys, at this Baptist podcast or whatever? Have Father Dr. Deacon Ananias Sorin, have Father Dr. Stephen, have Father Dr. Peter Hears, have Father Ron on.
Right. Exactly.
What are you doing with an apostate? You want to learn about orthodoxy, you go somebody who's orthodox.
Yes. Not the people that say these Orthodox priests, they don't know anything about Gregory Palamas. They just know,
Only he knows. Only the apostate knows. Nobody else knows, I guess. Now I'm worked up. Father Ron. I'm going to pass the baton here.
No, I'm listening to him and I'm thinking a bunch of stuff. And I guess, so he is, first of all, these guys are kind of confused listening to him, right? Like you could just look at their faces as he's talking and they're kind of like looking at him. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, so that means that, so what he's presenting is orthodoxy. And again, first of all, I'm not disparaging the theology and all the councils and all the saints and everything that has been inputted into our theology. I'm not discounting that. However, if you make that sort of the low bar, for example, I mean, for some people it is. I'm going to say for most people, and I guess this is the priest portion of me, that doesn't come into play. Okay. Some priests are going, well, I have news for you. A lot of my people, my congregation would say the same thing about that. But does that discount them from being members of the parish? Does that discount them from being Orthodox Christians? The answer is no. So again, I'm not saying that this is not something that's forms the basis of our faith, but it looks like to me what he's doing is he's basically saying to everybody, if you don't know all this, this is very bad. Okay. Well, I mean, cognitively know all this. Well, no, your average parishioner is going to trust that their priest would know this. But I'm going to even go as far as to say priests, if they don't know this, is because they're so screaming busy in some places that they're just trying to hold the thing together. If I could put it that way, they've got pastoral issues in their parish that he's not talking about, that he's not bringing into the fore. Now, I realize this is a theological discussion. I understand that, but I just think that he's focusing on a single element. And I said this in the other stream I did with Ben, he catastrophizes it, right? And so when I'm looking at these guys and they're talking about, well, how do we treat these people? I mean, they're at a different level than he is. And I'm not saying that he's at a higher level. He's at a different place. And so that's why I think they're confused. I don't know if I've made any sense with what I just said.
No, I agree. I think this is I think some people need to understand also that the MDiv degree, that is a professional degree, as in it prepares you for very practical problems, like how to counsel people, how to go about the liturgy, actually serving as a priest. like theology doesn't, like, there is overlap, but it doesn't always coincide in that. Just because you have an MDiv doesn't mean you're an expert at historical theology. It means
Right.
you're prepared to serve in a parish. So I
You're
think
right.
that's a very good point, Father Ron, that you brought up.
It's a professional ministerial degree, unlike an MTH, for example, which is
Right.
a research degree. But then it could be said that well, let me just pick up on what you said about the pastoral issue, and that's basically the reason we have, for example, not the reason, but the liturgy is a resume of our faith, and therefore, when you in the ancient world, when nobody had access to the biblical text like we do on a smartphone now, or actual little Bibles, where they didn't have that, they relied on the church to bring the faith down to a form that was comprehensible in their worship, and therefore there was that was how they learned the faith. And so, again, not to disparage theology, ultimately that has to be its basis. But I'm going to tell you right now, he makes it sound like, well, then what about, it's a strange irony that these guys who are, faith alone, for example, well, I'm hearing like a whole lot of cognitive work coming out of him as a requirement.
Absolutely. Yeah. If you don't hold
agree.
it, you don't hold the PSA, you're not saved. That's exactly what I was trying to point out earlier was, he tries to condemn us for, you have to believe this to be within the church, right? Well, this is the same thing that you're doing, bud. Everybody does this. Literally everyone, right? You don't have enough, self-reflection to see it, or you're being dishonest about it. One of the two.
I think I know Alex's answer.
Yes. Weakest Avenger 2 says, I just saw Schooping was on a channel called Rev Brandon War. I don't know who that is. Oh, yes. Actually, I did see this. To respond to Cleve converting to EO, did you guys see that? Yeah, everybody was responding to that when I made the announcement video. Every single major Protestant channel did a video, just about. Gavin Ortland did one. Jordan Cooper did one. Paul did one. I mean, everybody. This was all over the place.
I mentioned you in the video. I didn't have a video about you, but it was before I knew you at the time. I was like, guys, this is great. Although he did do that pretty quickly and rip the Band-Aid off. So don't chirp him now. Be nice to him now. Later, you can chirp him for that.
There you go.
I don't know if you ever saw that.
I did actually see that. Father Peter was sending me your videos.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. Because at the, before I made the announcement, I was talking pretty heavily with Father Peter Hears. And, I come to him with questions and things like this, like canon law stuff and, whatever else.
Yeah.
And, I mean, he would send me some of your stuff. That's just kind of the type of guy he is, though. He'll send me stuff he finds interesting. He's like, did you see what this person said about this? He sent me, I think, your first YouTube video that you made on the platform or something.
Yikes. I've just improved so much since then, right? It's like, oh, that was janky, but
well, I think your long form videos that you were like, you go in with like a mission to like prove a point, those do very well. And I think that's it's necessary. It fills a gap that a lot of the OrthoTube guys don't do, which is present arguments for a specific position with brevity. Nobody's doing that right now. So when you were the guy doing that, I mean, you get a lot of traction, which is also why you got a lot of traction in your other, even though it was like more like a jokey type video, it still had
the Jordan Cooper video. Yeah, I recently did that unconditional election one. That one went a little longer, but yeah, I do plan on, at least in the next few months, really hammering those.
All right, let's get back into this. Let's see what else he has.
In creed be universally accepted by Eastern Orthodox clergy?
No, they anathematize the filioque, the teaching that the Holy Spirit proceeds from the Father and the Son.
Yep.
And that anathema, or that dates back to about the 10th century, 9th century.
So when we're sending somebody to an Eastern, somebody leaves our church.
Father Stephen DeYoung says, when I heard about Ben converting, I turned to a parishioner and said, great, another bald guy. That's so true.
To join an Eastern Orthodox church. Should we consider the doctrine of that church or of Eastern Orthodoxy as a whole?
Eastern Orthodoxy as a whole, because they consider themselves a whole. The congregation, the parish priest serves at the discretion or pleasure of the bishop. and the bishop serves at the pleasure of the patriarch. And so everything is
And who's pleased by the patriarch service?
himself and his
No,
other
no,
brother
not
patriarchs,
true.
patriarchates
true.
Who maintain the conciliar.
Not true. Even there's a synod. Antioch has a synod. Constantinople has a synod.
Yeah, there's this impression with Protestants that patriarchs are like mini popes.
Right, and that's
They're-
why I interjected
yeah.
right away.
They're
Right.
accountable to their synods. And also notice the inconsistency that at the beginning of this video, the general disposition of Schooping was like, well, which Orthodox church are we talking about? There's so many different Orthodox churches. You might not know what they believe, right? They are
Oh, no,
a
that's
mess.
not true. It's all the same liturgical texts and rubrics.
Yeah, remember he was trying to say it's like trying to nail Jello to a wall. Now suddenly he changes his tune and he says you have to treat them all the same. But like Father Ron said, we are united in worship, we are united in creed, we're united in belief, we're united in liturgical practice and ecclesiology. We're all one church. It's again, they don't know the difference between distinction and separation.
Well, yeah, I mean it's that slop argument. Which Orthodox church? Are you talking Greek? You talking Antiochian? Are you talking like you're talking to somebody that has no idea what they're speaking about when they think that jurisdictions means they're separate churches, right?
But
It's
he's
insane.
also, this is where I side with Alex. He knows he's lying. That
Yeah.
I believe that.
Agreement with each other to be who and what they are. And so they're very much just, they're papal in that sense. That's just as the Pope is the patriarch of Rome, the patriarch of Constantinople is, you could call him the Pope.
You literally called them Orthodox popes. You can't make this up, dude. This
He's
is
a
insane.
liar.
So,
And
here's the thing.
I am shaking in my boots about what's awaiting for him on Judgment Day if he doesn't repent, to go out there
Well,
and knowingly mislead people.
It was
on
stuff like
purpose.
this that got my ire up when I remember Ben and I said I want to do my own. It was stuff like this. So, okay, it's one thing, like to me, like he was a priest. He should have known this. This is common knowledge. This is easy stuff. But to go out and say that on to a bunch of guys online, well, first of all, he's going to get our ire up, which he has already. But then, these other guys, like I'm hoping they'll pick up that. Well, anyway, maybe they won't. But
No, I agree with you, Father. These guys that called on Joshua Schooping to understand orthodoxy from a Protestant lens, right? You can still do that and like be fair to orthodoxy and not mischaracterize them. But that's not what they're
Correct.
getting. They were shortchanged by this.
correct. Very well put.
Yeah, insane. Yeah, they're like mini popes. Is insanity. I mean,
No.
he knows he's lying though. That's
Which
the thing.
patriarch has Vatican I powers over his jurisdiction? Which
Yeah,
one?
ridiculous. Oh, they wield the temporal sword, just like what are you talking
Good
about, dude?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, which
can-
patriarch has a standing army? Like,
Can Saint Vlad's revoke his diploma at this point? Yeah, this is a mess. This guy views himself as the Orthodox Luther.
that's giving him way too much credit. Luther was much more influential and much smarter than this guy.
Van says so many smart people on stream. Oh, hi, Alex. Oh,
Roasted.
it's over.
It's true.
over.
I'm an advocate. I have everybody else make the arguments. It's like, so when somebody says a joke and you're like, you're the friend next to them just says it louder.
It's wild. Yeah, it's like you notice when somebody makes a joke and like your friend makes it louder. Woo! I'm pretty funny.
You got me.
Of Constantinople, if you wanted to, because Pope was just kind of an affectionate title that was given. It wasn't the formal title; it was kind of the affectionate title. He's the Papa of all of us, kind of thing.
I want to close out this conversation on the kind of the theology. There's so many things I want to dig into. I'm looking at my notes here, but let me just there are two things I just want to make sure to clarify before we move on to the next conversation. One is the gospel, and the other is the cross. First, the gospel. What do the Orthodox teach?
Spreading obvious stupidity like this also helps us. People go to an Orthodox church to find out everything they were told was bull, and it makes them disbelieve their old pastor. Yes, that's
Yeah,
very
spot
true.
on.
When you overreach in your claims, it makes you look stupid. I mean, this is obvious. Like if somebody's in a debate, like, man, I miss doing debates. But if somebody's in a debate, okay, and they make a super broad and bold claim, that makes me so happy because then I can pick them apart and make them look like an idiot. Right?
Well,
I mean,
yeah,
it almost like his conscience turned off there for a sec, right? Because it was conscience that had him leave the church.
Mm.
But his conscience somehow has turned off for him to spew these lies.
yeah.
Mhm.
That's like the first thing they teach us in advocacy too, is like, that is literally in many places rule number 1: do not overstate your case.
Yes.
You will pay for it immediately, like instantaneously. You pay for it.
Well, one good example I could give for like an Orthodox, if they were making, a bad, this is a bad Orthodox argument, but if you were to say, oh, well, having what would be a good example of like a tradition? Give me like a random church tradition that even a Protestant would hold to. Anything.
Church on Sunday.
Well, that's in the Bible, like something that's not explicitly in the Bible. Pews. How about
triple immersion baptism?
Could you argue
Some of
that's
them do.
well, I don't think any.
Okay,
I don't know any
I'm
Protestants who
reaching
do
now.
triple immersion
Sorry,
baptism.
Ben. I'm reaching.
I'll say this: praying with your eyes closed. Okay, that was an example that I used often. Is like praying with your eyes closed. If you make the argument to a Protestant and you say, "Well, praying with your eyes closed is a tradition, aren't you sola scriptura? Because you have to only go by what the Bible says on everything, right?" Like that makes you look stupid as an Orthodox debater because they also accept small t traditions. They accept traditions that are they hold them as fallible. Sola scriptura means the scripture is a sole infallible rule of faith. So people that would call into the debate stream often would try to do those kinds of things. Like it's like the canon conundrum. How do you know what the canon of the Bible is? It's like, well, I can hold to as a Protestant. I'm not saying this is right, but I'm saying this would be the response. As a Protestant, I could hold to this list of canon because I can also accept traditions. I just view the traditions are fallible. Now you could press them on epistemology and say, well, what's your epistemic basis for accepting that canon? That would be a solid argument, but you get what I'm saying. Conflating sola scriptura and sola scriptura, that would be an overreach or something like this. Or to blanketly state every, I don't know, like everybody that holds to sola fide holds to like once saved, always saved or something. Like that's another blanket overreach I see often in call-in debates. And it makes you look dumb when you get checked on it.
About how sinners, what they teach today, how sinners are justified before God.
Yes. So they would probably today not even like that frame. They would say the very question is established on forensic language, and God doesn't operate forensically. That'd be probably the pop answer that would be given. And it's really sad, too, because one of the amazing things about the forensic dimension of the gospel is that it shows our forgiveness is objective. It's factual.
Yeah.
The idea of transformation or growth in grace is great. But if you don't...
No, it's factual and objective in baptism.
It's a good point. I was going to say that I recently had somebody call in to try to talk to me about justification. I love the term justification. It's in the Bible. Of course, we believe that you're justified before Christ. We just don't think it means what you think it means.
Right.
Correct.
I'm not going to reject somebody saying, I believed, I was baptized, and I was chrismated. I received the body and blood of Christ, and I'm justified before Christ. Of course you can say that. Nobody in Orthodoxy has any problem with you saying that.
Right.
Alex, we say that at a baptismal service, right after the baptism.
Yes.
You are justified. You are justified. You're washed, etc. We say it.
Yes, it's part of our services. We have no problem. It's like, it's so strange. Why is he saying that? Well, they would probably reject that out of hand because of forensic view of it. That's so crazy. We do not reject the Bible.
Father Stephen DeYoung says he doesn't really understand Protestant theology either. Yeah, this is true because he became a freaking LCMS Lutheran. They don't believe in PSA. They don't believe in PSA. That's the irony of this whole thing. He left Orthodoxy for a Protestant denomination over penal substitutionary atonement, and they don't even hold the penal substitutionary atonement. He became an LCMS Lutheran. It's just you can't make it up, dude. But he's gonna say, "Well, I could just be the Lutheran PSA guy, though." Oh, where does that sound familiar? Good grief, dude.
That is just so stupid.
Like, you know what, Ben, you're stopping this video every 10 seconds. I mean, because we have to.
It's kind of warranted.
Yes, exactly.
Every statement he makes is another absurd claim. Like it's nonstop, back to back to back nonsense.
Yeah.
And it's not like, yeah, it's ridiculous. Anyway, Lord of mercy, Christ of mercy. God is a great physician, $5. We need an Avengers panel to address the lies of the reformers saying that the church and the fathers teach and taught PSA. Well, that's the thing, though. I don't think the reformers really said the fathers teach PSA, or cite them at least to back that up.
Radical, maybe.
I was just, yeah, that's a good point. Maybe the radical reformers, maybe they did, but I was just reading. I mentioned this earlier in the stream that I was reading through Calvin recently, his section on, the Father pouring out his wrath on the Son, and that God the Father is the source of death, or something like all of these crazy things that have horrible implications on your doctrine of God. And Calvin, he does cite to Augustine, St. Gregory Nazianzus. He does that often throughout his institutes, but not in that section.
CRB Go says, to my knowledge, he hates PSA. No, go watch the last 2 hours of this entire live stream. Has been nothing of him saying PSA is the gospel. The Orthodox are going to hell for rejecting PSA as the gospel.
I think Cleve had him on his show. I think Cleve knows what he believes.
Yes. So not being condescending towards you. I'm just letting you know that is not true. He loves PSA. He's absolutely obsessed with it. You must have just tuned in 2 minutes ago, maybe. But yeah, go rewind it and see the rest of his statement. JB says, everybody 2 hours ago, this is kind of sad. Everybody now, boo, liar, gay.
The super chat is funny too.
Lord of mercy. All right.
Don't have that legal declaration, that factual declaration that gives you that security on the basis of God's word, then now your transformation has a big question mark over it, whether it's ever enough.
So just to insist on my own Protestant categories, I'm inclined to take a denial of the question as an implicit denial of justification by faith alone.
Oh yeah.
That's my instinct, to say you are effectually denying it, therefore.
Mr. Feather, thoughts on that?
I think so. And it does seem to.
I missed that. Did he say denying PSA is denying sola fide?
Well, no, he was talking about the factuality of justification.
Oh, okay.
You might have to rewind it, but it was something along that, kind of what I was reacting to before about the fact that that we don't have that same, according to him, that same.
Oh, that's not factual.
It's not factual. Yeah. Like they can point to, Jesus dying on the cross and his word to us, and that's factual. But baptism, no, you can't point to that, even though, I've got it anyway. Certificate. I know what I've got photos. I was there.
Yeah. Same thing Father Stephen DeYoung says here. He's saying he's talking about the justification being evident or something.
That's a good point.
Actually, he's right. That's kind of what I was saying. That's very good. How do you know?
If it's a declaration, you must have a judgment somewhere where you can show me that you're declared righteous.
Yeah.
Where's the evidence? At least in our view, through baptism is an objective means that you've been received into the church, right? As many as have been baptized have put on Christ. It doesn't get much more objective than that.
And by the way, we don't need to have that reassured.
Yeah.
Because remember Father Stephen DeYoung said they need to reassure themselves always, because they're always in doubt after, about their works, and whether they're actually works that are fruition of their salvation, or if they're their own works and all that stuff. And so they go through this crisis. But no, we don't have that problem, because I know I was baptized. Now I have to account for that. I have to be found in that baptismal state, but I know I've been baptized.
The
remind me a little bit of Roman Catholicism in that way, where justification and sanctification are so mashed together that you effectively lose the legal declaration of justification.
Yeah. In some ways, I would say they're worse than Rome because they have so much more ambiguity because of what they pick and choose from and cherry pick. So you can go find the Ortho Bros online, and they'll bark at you with 150% confidence, 200% confidence, about whatever it is they're saying. And then you can go onto a website called Public Orthodoxy where they're having trans affirmation weekends. And it's all in the Eastern Orthodox Church.
Cleve, apparently he has a problem with us. He doesn't like the Ortho Bros.
No, did you hear what he just said, though?
Oh, yeah. He said that orthodoxy is gay or something. Like
He
that,
said
which is ridiculous.
you can go on Public Orthodoxy and see articles talking about LGBT affirmation weekends. Public Orthodoxy is a Jesuit Roman Catholic news article.
He blundered.
They work for Fordham University, the Jesuit Catholic University. I had an entire segment showing how these people are subversives. What the Jesuit Roman Catholic University does is they go and they will find the most woke people they possibly can, nominal Orthodox people. They'll pay them a lot of money to write whatever slop they want. It is not an Orthodox publication. I just posted something actually today. Let me pull this up because this makes me mad. Anyway, a lot of this makes me mad. But anyway, let me pull this up real quick because I think this is important to notice.
You know what's lovely, though, is that all the opponents of orthodoxy have massive blunders like this, like massive blunders, like Matt Powell the other day. And I have Joshua Schooping here citing a Jesuit website trying to say that Orthodox support like trans LGBTQ.
All right. So this is the thing. This was Pine Sap trying to do this same stupid argument. They pull from Public Orthodoxy, who is not Orthodox. This is a Jesuit institution. Okay. He says, U.S. Catholic, because I shared this thing from, this is going to be spoiler for the next Catholic news segment. There's a article here from U.S. Catholic that says, what can the Hindu devotion to Shiva teach us about Lent? So
what? Nothing?
I shared that. That made Pine Sap a little feisty. And he said, U.S. Catholic is notoriously liberal publication that dissents from church teaching. This would be like me taking an article from Public Orthodoxy and using it to say all Orthodox Christians believe in listening to LGBT plus Christians. And he shares this article from Public Orthodoxy. I share this until you find out Public Orthodoxy is also run by Catholic Jesuits. Public Orthodoxy is a public-facing initiative of the Orthodox Christian Studies Center and is designed as an editorial forum for scholars to comment on issues of contemporary concern in a manner more suited to broad, non-academic audience. As both Catholic and Jesuit in identity, Fordham University draws a great deal of its inspiration from both of these rich and lively traditions. From what tradition? Catholic Jesuits.
Ben, don't just leave that on the page for a sec.
Yes.
So I just want to, if you don't mind me just responding to one thing on that. It says here, is a designed as an editorial for scholars to comment on issues of contemporary concern in a manner more suited for a broad, non-academic audience. That's why the ecumenical councils were attended and decided on not by theologians, but by pastors. And there's a big difference. Okay. This is a pastoral issue, right? They can say what they want from a scholarly, theological, or whatever perspective. That's completely fine. But it is a pastoral issue first and foremost. And so therefore, I'm going to say this invalidates it. Thank God the ecumenical councils were attended by pastors.
That's right.
Because guess what? The body of believers is a source of truth.
Yeah.
They went, they looked at their people and they knew what worked and what didn't. Right? And that's why, for example, when Mark of Ephesus went back, or how did it work? But basically, it was the people who rejected that council, which I think was Trent,
or Florence,
if I'm not mistaken, because it's a source of truth, as is the scriptures, as is our oral tradition, as is our count. These are sources of truth, right? But I'll tell you right now, So that's why the theologians of and the fathers of the church are always in submission to the church. They're not the church. They are in submission to the church, which includes infants, children, the whole body of believers. Sorry, rant.
Absolutely.
Spot on.
Father Stephen DeYoung says, by the way, in terms of PSA, Gustav Allen hit the evil mastermind of his Anglican anti-PSA conspiracy was a Lutheran. Bum, 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 bum.
Yeah, didn't he say expressly that Gustav Allen was an Anglican?
Yeah.
Who infiltrated the Eastern Orthodox or something? Or the Anglicans caught on to that theory by Gustav Allen and
brief
Wonders.
thing. I did a video on this. If you guys want to check it out, it was with Rachel Wilson earlier. This was talking about CIA subversion of church institutions. We go over a couple of different things. Public orthodoxy was one of them. But I compiled this resource here on my X page. If you want to go check this out, I did this in January. But it's a deep dive on Fordham University's public orthodoxy PSYOP. And it shows... I don't really talk about the fact that they're a Jesuit institution in this because that's kind of obvious, but they have deep connections to the CIA and they receive funding to do this kind of PSYOP. So you can actually check this out if you want to. Thread for those who aren't aware, Public Orthodoxy is a Fordham University project with deep CIA ties. The goal of this organization is to spread disinformation, attempt to shift public perception towards greater acceptance of liberal axioms within Orthodoxy. I do a whole deep dive. I show how they have former CIA Chief John Brennan on their payroll. There's documents, declassified CIA documents that show them receiving funding for these operations from the Luce Foundation, so on and so forth. Examples of some of their subversive events that they do. You can check all of this out if you want to. Also, from some of their authors here, we have statements on exactly why they write what they write, and it's basically it says, this project will reveal how Orthodox feminist activists are pushing back against the hegemony of patriarchal Christianity. So basically, it's a subversive operation.
That's the whole premise of the operation.
Yes, from the horse's mouth. From the horse's mouth, right there.
Why are they confessing?
Correct.
They're bragging.
That's exactly what it is. So if you're interested in that, you can check that out on my X page. But let's continue on into this.
Okay, then the question about the cross, what happened to the cross? Am I understand that to understand that most, if not all, these days would deny penal substitutionary atonement, and the kind of a follow on along is that? So are they denying that Christ is the only mediator? Are the saints mediators? Is Mary a mediator?
So
kind of those two questions together.
In their canonical theology through Gregory Palamas, we have him teaching that Mary, after her death, became essentially the eternal go-between between Christ and humanity. And so Christ's humanity has been functionally swallowed up by his majesty. And so they also teach the doctrine of toll houses. Now, Eastern Orthodox, which is now like how complicated is that? Western converts to Eastern Orthodoxy have picked up, started to kind of push back on this doctrine, but it's clearly been taught for the last 500 years that after a person dies, according to Eastern Orthodox, their saints, Mount Athos, which is their holiest of holy places where all of their monks and theologians come from, the guarantees of what keeps Orthodoxy orthodox, they teach that when you die, you go through what's called a particular judgment. And that means that Satan and the demons come and they essentially test you. And if they find sin in you, they find like you didn't purge and purify yourself from all your anger, or you didn't purify yourself from all your lust, and you don't have the fire of grace through the practice of prayer.
I missed what he said earlier. What did you have something that you wanted to add, Alex?
The question was, is Christ the only mediator, or do the saints, do they play a mediator role, or Mary, does she play a mediator role? And he was like, well, basically, they believe Mary is the go-between between God and humanity now, which is not correct. But then he said that the laity are pushing against this doctrine, or new converts are pushing against this doctrine of the toll houses. That's not my experience at all. They think that's one of the coolest things about it. They want to learn more about it. Yes. Lutherans believe in a particular judgment. That's true. He talks about it as if it's like some weird thing. A lot of Christians believe in a particular judgment, and then the Great White Throne judgment, that after your soul leaves your body, there's an immediate judgment right there, and then a final judgment at the great white throne judgment. But I don't think I don't think the Orthodox, nobody's teaching that Satan judges you. I talked to my spiritual father about this. He said Jesus judges you.
Yeah, exactly. Green Emperor, $5. Dr. Matthew J. Thomas has a great article on justification on the St. Andrew Encyclopedia, which shows the early church did not teach forensic alone. Interesting. Gregory Tamales, baptism tomorrow. Please pray. Pray I wake up on time.
That'd be
Please.
that'd be helpful.
Go to sleep now. What
Yeah,
on
go
earth?
night-night.
Ted
Stop
Hero.
watching my show. Go night-night.
Priorities.
Phoenix Ear, $20. Big super chat. Thank you so much. Been swamped lately, but pumped to see this, and welcome home to those recently received or getting received tomorrow. Absolutely.
They're strong enough around you, then you could essentially die eternally and be captured by the demons. And that's their doctrine of the toll houses. Now, I could give you a list of so many metropolitan.
Yeah, the demons accuse you. They don't judge you. That's what that's what they call Satan, by the way. The accuser.
The accuser. It's literally what his name means.
And saints who have taught what they consider saints who have taught this, and it's absolutely clear in their tradition. Seraphim Rose wrote a book in defense of it, and he even goes through and gives lists of all the way through multiple centuries. They try to date it back to the beginning, which is obviously false. It's not possible, but it goes back several centuries. So it's what they teach. And so then, if you call on Mary, then she will come and escort you to Christ. Gregory Palamas teaches that no one can receive a blessing event or any kind of distribution of grace from Christ, and they can't even approach Christ, even an angel, unless they get a blessing from Mary to do it. And so they almost would make some Roman Catholics blush in their Mariology.
Co-redemptrix?
Yeah, they'll use that language sometimes.
Co-redemptrix? He said we use co-redemptrix?
Maybe there's some saint somewhere that used the term as a stray remark. I don't think that's normative at all. Father Ron, are there any services that refer to?
I don't think so. I mean, I agree with you. It's most probably buried in some akathis somewhere, if at all. But I have a lot to say about this this stuff he's talking about here. With regard to Mary, because I said, and maybe this is a good time to bring it up.
Then when you're done, I do have a point to make on the toll houses.
I'm going to step away for just a moment, but go ahead.
Yep.
So who wants? Okay,
you can go ahead. And
I
then
guess
I'll make my point on the toll
we're the
houses.
last people standing. So what do you want to do? You want to do go ahead. You go ahead.
You can say your thing about the
Well,
Theotokos.
I've said this on the other night with Ben, and that is, if you just think about Mary as being an icon of the church. So just take everything he said and put the word church in instead of Mary. You'll see that it's exactly the same thing, right? We can't come to, and by the way, he said, and even angels can't approach Christ without the church. Well, there's this verse in Ephesians that's kind of interesting that it's just it says here, through the church, the manifold wisdom of God might be made known to the principalities and powers in the heavenly places. Well, there you go. That's what I'm talking about, right? So it's through the church that the angels can see the wisdom of God, but Mary's an icon of the church, right? She is the representation of the church, the image of the church. So as long as you, again, I always say, if you think that way, it'll fit like a hand in a glove. It'll be no problem. But he's making it the opposite, right? And so that's why it's troublesome for him and for others. He's making it troublesome for others. What I'm trying to do is make it untroublesome for people. There you go, Alex.
Yeah, well, I think he's trying to tie it up, and he was trying to say that this doctrine of the toll houses came up in only the last few centuries. That is ridiculous. So Father Seraphim Rose, soon to be, I imagine, Saint Seraphim Rose, he goes in his chapter on the toll houses. This is page 70 in this edition. He shows that Saint Athanasius, in his famous Life of Saint Anthony the Great, describes the toll houses. St. John Chrysostom, describing the hour of death. He has a citation here to St. John Chrysostom's homily on patience and gratitude, how he talks about the intercession from angels on the journey through the spaces of the air. Saint Macarius the Great. He talks about how in his 50 spiritual homilies, is the citation here, he says, when you hear that there are rivers of dragons, mouths of lions, and the dark powers under the heavens, and fire that burns and crackles in the members, you think nothing of it, not knowing that unless you receive the earnest of the Holy Spirit, they hold your soul as it departs from the body and do not suffer you to rise to heaven. This is Saint Macarius the Great. You have Saint Isaiah the Recluse in the 6th century. There's just so many different evidences for this. You have Saint Gregory the Dialogist, Saint Ephraim the Syrian, who that's even earlier than Saint Gregory, Gregory the Dialogist, Saint John Damascene. The toll houses are very, very common in the first 1,000 years of Christianity. For him to say that this doctrine came up in only the last few centuries, that's ridiculous, and it's a lie. And if it's not a lie, then he should know it's not true, and that makes it even worse almost, because now he's talking about something he knows nothing about.
I didn't hear anything you said, but I completely agree with you, Alex. That was
Great.
Great.
I appreciate the show of confidence.
Yeah.
I was going to say, well,
Cleve went
sure
to
you
go
want to
play
go
on
down that
Redeem
road anyway.
Zoomer. Cleve went to go play on Redeem Zoomer's Minecraft server. So true. So true. You guys all have to hop on there and play. Go to the Orthodox land and help me build this big old church. You know what would be actually fun? I like maybe one day when I'm feeling less lazy, but setting up a Minecraft server and then doing streams where people in the chat can jump in the game or something. That would be cool. That'd be fun. What do you guys think?
I think it seems Father Stephen maybe disagrees with me on the toll houses. He says a lot of those quotations in Father Seraphim Rose are from Russian translations that aren't totally accurate. Maybe we should do a stream, me and Father Stephen on the toll houses, and then we can go through these. Because I mean, let's say they aren't totally accurate. I mean, wouldn't still at the very least the idea of a journey with some spiritual battle, wouldn't that be there? I don't know.
Jay Squire says, Ben's been watching too much Ish. Actually, very true. I was just binging Ish's civilization streams. So, All right, let's watch this. Let's see what high tier critiques they have left. They have 6 minutes. Will they wow us, or will they make us scream into our microphones? Let's see.
In case you don't know it, I'm guessing you do. We've mentioned what bad Anglicans do. A largely good Anglican, Jim Packer, J.I. Packer, wrote a wonderful article on substitutionary atonement, the logic of substitutionary atonement. What did the cross achieve? Yeah. If you don't know that article, you would love it.
It was pivotal, actually, for me in my conversion to the atonement.
Praise the Lord. Yeah. Such a good article.
Yeah.
Amen. I want to keep digging here, if I could. We're out of time for this first conversation. Any books you'd recommend for helping evangelicals understand the theology? Is Robert Letham's a useful book? Are there others that you'd recommend instead?
I found, now, of course, Robert Letham is a great scholar, and I wouldn't, want to cast any aspersions on him or his scholarship. But I found that
Father Stephen Young says, yeah, there's a journey and period of purification all the way back, but Toll House's analogy as such is more recent.
That sounds, I'd like to do a stream on that maybe, because it seems like this is something that at least Schooping is using to say that we have some sort of development of doctrine. But like, if it's just the analogy that's recent, but the substance the analogy goes all the way back, then it kind of seems like maybe it kind of seems like a moot point, maybe. But
well, my understanding
open to correction on this.
My understanding was Toll House specifically was a vision of one saint, but it resonates and tracks with what was before. So it's just I'm going to say even Saint John of the Ladder has it's not the same thing, but if the idea of a ladder or steps, right? So we have this in our tradition, and so how that is expounded or brought to the fore can differ. And again, I know maybe Father Stephen can verify this. I'm almost certain Toll House, as we are talking about it, is from a vision of one saint, but it does track all the way to the back.
Almost all people who have dealt with Eastern Orthodox theology from a Western perspective have pulled punches.
Okay.
They were really just too soft with them. They didn't really understand the teeth that the canonical tradition has. And so they take some of these more contemporary writers like Alexander Schmemann, or the one who wrote the mystical theology of the Eastern Church. His name just leapt out of my head. But some of these other more contemporary Eastern Orthodox emigres from Russia who lived in Paris and then from this Paris school came to the West. It was a very Protestantizing kind of Eastern Orthodoxy. In fact, Seraphim Rose had actually accused John Mayen, I believe it was John Meyendorff and Alexander Schmemann, of Protestantizing because of the way that they did their theology. So now Protestants read these Eastern Orthodox writers and think, oh, this must be an authentic expression of traditional Eastern Orthodoxy. And so then they write from this kind of artificial framework instead of having really deeply read through like a Gregory Palamas or some of these other writers, even a Simeon, the New Theologian, where it's like you go from a great section or a great paragraph to a paragraph that's just like totally garbage.
So you don't have any books you'd point to at this point for
I don't think Saint Simeon, the New Theologian, has any paragraphs that are garbage. First of all, that's pretty weird for him to say. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. He just sounds bitter. I think that's mostly all it is. Yeah, he was talking about Losky, mystical theology.
He's also dogging on the canons. I mean, I think we should recognize that the canons have always been seen as like very authoritative administrative rules, but we're not legalists. Like, we're not Pharisees. I don't think we ever have been, to the point where we're trying to build a fence around the commands of God, right? Like, I have the canons of Saint Basil, one of his letters here. He says on a canon that he gives about divorce, or I'm sorry, it's about I don't know, am I allowed to say the unaliving of fetuses?
There you
the
go.
unaliving of children in the womb. He says we should not prolong their punishment, of the mother from the church, should not prolong their punishment until death, but should accept the term of 10 years. Okay, so he has a specific sentence, 10 years. And we should not determine the treatment according to the time of 10 years, but according to the manner of repentance.
Correct.
So whoever is overseeing that has discretion. And this is also seen in Canon 102 of Trello.
Yes, that's what I was about to pull up.
Yeah, briefly, I guess I'll just read it since you were going to go there anyway. I'll say, it behooves those who have received from God the power to loose and bind, so the bishops, to consider the quality of the sin and the readiness of the sinner for conversion, and to apply medicine suitable for the disease, lest if he is injudicious in each of these respects, he should fail in regard to the healing of the sick man. For the disease of sin is not simple, but various and multiform, and it germinates many mischievous offshoots, from which much evil is diffused, and it proceeds further until it is checked by the power of the physician. Wherefore, he who professes the science of spiritual medicine ought, first of all, consider the disposition of him who has sinned, and see whether he tends to health, or on the contrary, provokes to himself disease by his own behavior, and to look how he can care for his manner of life during the interval. If he does not resist the physician, and if the ulcer of the soul is increased by the application of the imposed medicaments, then let him mete out mercy to him according as he is worthy of it. So there's a little bit more to the canon there, and that's really wordy. But if you look it up, just go on Google. It's Trello, Canon 102. You can find it on New Advent. The whole point is that this is not like a copy-paste thing for the canons. These are guidelines from the canons, right? We're not legalists. We're not Pharisees. We're not trying to build a fence around the law.
Right. Yeah, they have to apply the canons have to be applied, especially the disciplinary canons. I mean, we just had a conversation about this the other night, Father Ron, about disciplinary canons. They have to be applied. They are not you can't say something that is like an action is infallible, right? It's not talking about doctrine. It's talking about how you handle certain things within the church, but that has to be applied by a bishop. If you were to do it, any other way, right? You're saying, well, it has to be like acrovia every single time. Like it's the rigidity of the law every single time. This would be like saying somebody who has, two people are experiencing pain, so they have the same problem. They both have pain. Well, the guy with the back injury, we did pretty radical surgery, refused his discs and things like this. So that'll probably work on the guy that has a toothache, right? Like it's the same thing. No, like,
Well, it's also, we can say, like, maybe they have the same sickness. Maybe they have the flu. There are two patients. They both have the flu, but one of them is a guy who's 400 pounds who has a bunch of other health problems. The other one is a woman in the prime of life. She's 18, very healthy immune system. You're not going to give them the same treatment. Like, it's dumb to do that.
right.
Well, and if I can add to that, though, this is why, from a pastoral point of view, sometimes based on what you just said, Alan, well, both of you, that is this. If I apply something to one person and apply something different to another person for the same problem, as pretending, let's say, they knew, that might appear to me to be a little bit unfair, or, you know, I'm favoring somebody over another, but that's not what it's about. It's about, well, this medicine works here, but this medicine may not work here. So I have to give something different for the same condition, right? So pastorally, we handle things differently for same conditions.
Absolutely. Father Stephen says, I would value a used Kleenex from St. Simeon, the New Theologian, more highly than the most profound paragraph Schooping could generate, which would just be one massive apology, I imagine.
That would be the most profitable thing we can get out of Schooping, is a massive apology.
This guy has made 7 alts to come and troll the chat. Oh my goodness, dude.
Thanks for the donation, but way to like not get your thing read, I guess.
Yeah, Jay lost to Agan. I'm debating Jay soon on Miaphysitism.
Agan, the one who said gay stuff in the
why does
Discord.
Miaphysitism make people like this? The cops are just like this too. They'll make a bunch of alts and troll and mass report.
Just a bunch of trolls
stuff, dude. It is nuts.
Refund that.
Say, this will help you understand the doctrine.
I hate to promote.
Also, Jay did not lose to Agan, by the way.
That's ridiculous.
How old is he? He's like an 18-year-old kid or something. They're like touting him as like their #1 guy or something.
Agan won't even write down what his position is to debate Orthodox Shahada.
Well, he has to be flexible so he could lie to the audience, right?
That's the point. He doesn't want to commit himself to anything.
Absolutely. Well, if you write down your position, right, you can't do Mott and Bailey's the whole time, which is what he's kind of known for.
Yeah.
So
myself or promote my own book. One of the things I did try to write on that topic was Disillusioned, to kind of expose some of these doctrines and the canonical underpinnings of them, so a person can see them from the source texts and understand what the source texts even are. Samuel Farag, I believe, has put out a book more recently on the subject, which I haven't had a chance to read through yet. But I would say source texts, like in the Nicene, post-Nicene Fathers set, you have all of the canonical, or a great majority, the mass of like the canons of the church from different various councils. A person can read them; they can read for themselves what the Seventh Ecumenical Council said. And so, if a person's grounded in the gospel and they're willing to trudge through, you know, the acts and the writings from the Seventh Ecumenical Council, they'll see for themselves. Because that's really, in a lot of ways, where the Eastern Orthodox Church kind of fell off the rails in the biggest way, was around the Seventh Ecumenical Council. They absorbed Dionysius, the pseudo Dionysius from the very early 6th century. They absorbed his writings because they thought he was actually that 1st century person
He is.
You goober. Nobody will debate this, by the way. There's a standing offer, an open offer right now for anybody to debate Craig Trugley on this subject. If you go back and watch my video, icon veneration is apostolic. It shows that pseudo Dionysius isn't actually pseudo, according to new peer-reviewed scholarship. So go check that out. If you want to debate Craig Trugley on this, he has opened that up to anybody who wants to talk to him about it.
Paul had converted to his preaching in Athens. And so because they thought that this Dionysius was original, they essentially onboarded his theology almost wholesale as like, this is like the corrective, like apostolic era teaching. But if you read Dionysius, he has very little interest in the atonement, very little interest in the cross or even the resurrection. It figures very little in his theology, his mystical theology. And so it's after Dionysius that you have kind of this like...
Because he refutes PSA.
Because he doesn't talk about PSA. So of course, when Schooping looks at it, he's going to be like, he's not talking about the atonement at all. Well, duh, because you're wrong, Joshua.
Yes.
Wake up, buddy.
Good grief.
Kind of more grotesque exaggerations of Mariology. And then you have this iconology, this kind of iconodulia, where they start venerating these icons and forcing it and saying you go to hell if you don't. That, I think, personally comes in the wake of a Dionysius, which is why we have such kind of ambivalent feelings in the magisterial reformers when they write on him, whether it's Luther or Calvin. Like, sometimes they'll be like, yeah, Dionysius says some really cool stuff, and then sometimes they'll be like, this is dangerous stuff too, stay away. So
Any other comments for this first episode, brothers? Any comments, questions? This has been all very helpful. Thank you so much. I'm kind of anxious to jump to the pastoral applications of some of this, which we'll do when we come back.
All right.
It's all been very helpful to confuse the heck out of us.
Well, that's a wrap for that. That was a mess, dude. That was even worse than I expected it to be honest. I mean, that was pretty bad.
I'm pretty speechless, honestly. It's I would expect at least to have like a decent critique, or be like, I don't like the Mary stuff, man. That's a little too much for me. Or like, you have to kiss the icons, like you have to, like, fine, maybe I'd understand that. But to outright lie, that is something else.
All right, I'm going to get through the rest of these super chats here. Shane Paisios, $5. Father Seraphim Rose is clear in his book that the demonic trials don't determine your salvific state. If you're saved, the demons can't change that. Yeah, didn't Father Seraphim Rose say something along the lines of there was some monk that saw Father Seraphim Rose in appeared to him in a dream, or it was like an apparition or something. And Father Seraphim, he asked him, he said, because the monk had been he was falling into despair, and he was saying, I don't understand how anybody could get through the toll houses, because he had read his book. I forget the title of it. I'm tired, so I'm blanking on it. It's like whatever happens after death or something.
I remember. I remember what you're talking about.
One.
Yes.
Yeah. So I guess he had read that, and the monk was falling into despair. He's like, it's going to be impossible to get through the toll houses. And so when Father Seraphim appeared to him, he asked him, he said, how did you get through? Like, he was shocked. He's like, how did you get through the toll houses? He said, I just told him, told him basically, I'm going to Christ. Christ is who I love, and that's who I'm going to. And they let him through. So, it's kind of like you take the writings of the saints in one way. If you misread them, you're going to be a little off in your understanding of them, which it appears that's what he's trying to twist with this whole demonic trials thing. It's like they're the ones doing the judgment, when that's not the case.
I was going to say, it's also, I mean, it is wrong. Also, it's just a ridiculous assertion on its face. Like, really, Schooping, you're telling me that the Orthodox Church teaches that demons decide the fate of your eternal soul?
Yeah.
That is so stupid. Like, on its face, it's just a dumb assertion.
Joseph Aggs, $5. Appreciated this. Reverend Schooping was giving me pre-conversion cold feet. Well, I'm glad this was helpful, man. Y'all send this to anybody who is actually convinced by Joshua Schooping's arguments. I mean, I've heard this from many different Protestants. I understand it's scary because he's like an ex-Orthodox priest. This is his whole shtick. He wants to scare you because he's like, this is what the church actually teaches, and it's not. He's lying the whole time. So send this to all of your friends if they were convinced by Joshua Schooping in the past or something. This will be a good stream to go back and reference, because we've really picked apart his arguments piece by piece by piece by piece. So this will be one that's evergreen, I think. Go ahead, Father.
He made it easy.
He did.
Yeah, it helps that he said really stupid things.
It helps when we're off scale, high on stupidity. It really helps,
Yeah.
Octavian, $20 super chat. Thank you so much. Toll fee. There you go. Latinized diorite. What's your take on St. John Chrysostom and the hymns of Holy Week saying the Jews killed Jesus? Well, it's true.
I mean,
what do you mean?
The Bible says that.
Right.
It's not controversial in our view.
Not controversial at all. Controversial to the U.S. government, apparently, but not controversial to us. Alex, steady crushing monsters, Cleve crushing Chow psyops, and Father Ron crushing with holiness. Father Stephen DeYoung crushing the chat. 6 stream. Hit that like. So
I think you meant CIA. It's just the autocorrect on super chats is weird sometimes.
Oh, got it. Yeah, super chats are weird like that. Yeah, Chow.
Hopefully I'm crushing monsters in more than one sense. I have the the drinks, but also the theological bad guys. I'm trying to crush them as well.
Well, I'm drinking coffee out of my wife's Bratz cup right now, so that's what I'm
a throwback. Wow.
Pisces of EO. Alex, if you're going to talk about the tall houses, don't just bring up
as opposed to
Father
the short houses.
Yeah. Yes, as opposed to the I took the short bus to the tall houses. Don't just bring up Father Seraphim, but also Elder Ephraim book on the tall houses. That's what you say when you got a southern accent. Is look, when I die, I know I'm going to them tall houses. Right? And I'm going to tell them demons, you better let me through, or I'm going to give you a whooping. All right.
Cleve, are you always good at impressions, dog?
No, I'm just insane.
That's like a few now that you're pretty good at. Yeah, well, I mean, the thing is, I know those are like the two main books on the toll houses, but the thing is, Father Stephen knows more than I do on this topic. So the only thing that we all stand to gain, is my point, is that if I have him on and we talk about it, so it's good.
Hey man.
Hey,
are these chats smaller than they usually are? I feel like something changed.
Can I show you the mug that my wife brought me?
Please do. Nice.
Love
Get
it.
that, Alex?
Proto presbyter. Love it. That's awesome. Goated mug. Hey man in the chat.
Hey man. That right there. Hallelujah. Campo, best article I've seen on toll houses is Taxing of Souls by Metropolitan Hierethios Vlachos. Vlachos. I'm gonna get some queso on my tortillas. I'm gonna put some jalapenos on my
the jalapenos. Yes.
eat chicken fajitas. Just mispronounce everything. Isn't Elden Ring based on toll houses? I've never heard that in my life.
I feel like I've heard this before. Maybe there's some truth to it. I don't know.
Quesadillers. That's so true. That's Gregory Tamales in the chat. That's who said that? Who was the Protestant guy that said Gregory Pomales?
And the pagans. Yeah, I forgot his name. I just know he said pagans really.
Was that really was that your friendly hood guy?
That sounds familiar. That sounds right.
That guy was so funny, but
with like the weird cut, yes, yeah, the center part,
the broccoli head.
Yeah.
Well, dude, I liked his channel, but all of his new videos are just on works salvation. The work salvationist over and over and over again. I can only stand so much of that. I'm like, I want to react to him again because he was crazy, but now his new videos are just boring. You can't be crazy and boring.
Did you remember that Jeremiah Nortier guy that debated Layton on unconditional election?
Mm-mm.
He's a Calvinist guy. He recently had a debate with the Church of Christ guy on whether like baptism saves, and Jeremiah's premise is like, well, works don't save you. That might be a good debate to review because, no offense, Jeremiah, you're a good debater, I get it, but you're a Calvinist, so it's a hard position to defend. In my opinion, Jeremiah got a bit dog walked in that debate because it ended up being like, okay, did Naaman heal himself of leprosy when he went and jumped in the pool? And it just led to like so many absurdities. Maybe that would be a good one to review. Anyway, sola fide is faded, and you know the Church of Christ people recognize this, and it's kind of, when you see it in a debate setting, it's indefensible.
Yukon Strings, seeing Mary as an icon of the church was pivotal for me to understand the greatest akathist. I want to do a show at some point breaking down the akathist hymn. There was who did this?
That's a good idea. That would be very evergreen because that's one of their go-to evidences apparently.
Yeah, I think
the akathist.
I think Barrel Age Faith did this already though. So I'd have to, if I did it, it would have to be with brevity, like very concise and shareable.
Yeah.
Yukon Strings. So it would not be a live stream. This would be like a pre-recorded video. Yukon Strings. That's the problem though. Like right now, because I'm not trying to do like teaching stuff. If I talk theology, I always make sure I have like an apologist or a priest on or something. So doing like solo shows that are short that I like to do, I can't really do them at the moment because I always have to have somebody else is there for the theology. So maybe in the future I'll do stuff like that once I have a blessing to do so. Yukon Strings. It seems to me that she is the icon of the church for other church traditions as well, i.e. low view of Mary equals relativistic ecclesiology.
That's a good point. If they have a low view of Mary, they have a low view of the church. That's very interesting.
And so one of my followers also talked about the low view of Mary having an effect on how abortion is viewed. And that was a comment in the stream we did, Ben, and I thought it was a very good comment. So shout out to Andrea for that comment. But I want to say something about Yukon Strings. I actually know this gentleman, and if he's watching right now, nice to see that. Nice to see you again. Nice to hear from you again. And by the way, he he lives very close to the Yukon.
Nice.
Not just LARPing.
Sorry, Alex. No such thing as a good Calvinist.
They're all filthy rags, right? They're all totally deplorable, totally depraved. It's only God that can save them. We also believe only God can save you, by the way.
Well, this was an excellent stream. I appreciate you both for coming on. Why don't you plug what you have coming up next so the audience can know where to find your next videos?
Yeah, YouTube, Alex Sorin, just my name. You'll find me. Got some potential debates coming up. I'm working on getting a debate on Sola Fide against Method Ministries, Lucas together. Potentially, there is something in the works with the Modern Day Debates channel, which I think is a pretty big platform. So you guys look out for that. I don't want to give too many specifics at this time because, you know, we're still working things out, but there is something in the works on Modern Day Debates too. So we're going to be moving forward. We're going to be doing streams here and there, but like you heard on the stream tonight, we're going to be focusing a lot more on the pre-recorded content and just, you know, slamming information in people's face so that they can't deny it anymore. And we're going to be focusing on the debates too, moving forward. So Alex Sorin on YouTube, Alex Orthodoxy on X and on Instagram. Check it out.
Okay, for me, I'm on X as, I always have to look, Father_Ron PG. And I'm at Remote Orthodoxy on YouTube. And if I can plug one thing, I just did John chapter 2, the cleansing of the temple. And so I talked, and I think I demonstrated in a very, just everybody watch it. I demonstrated baptism and Eucharist in the cleansing of the temple in John 2. So if you want to see some way of backing up our theology and the sacrament of baptism, what it means, also the Eucharist, and also how it follows Luke in terms of how we come to know Christ, watch that video. It worked out really well, and I was really happy with how it worked. It was only an hour, barely an hour, but I mean, okay, Ben, what did I always say? I sow or you sow, I reap. But really, this video was, I think, was one of my better ones. So yeah, I would love to get 1,000, but it's okay. That's my plug.
Everybody go subscribe to Father Ron's channel right now, Remote Orthodoxy on YouTube. Get him to 1,000 subs. Let's do it. Father Ron, make sure to speak with me at some point and I'll give you some SEO tips.
Oh, I'll have to do it after Pascha, but I'm so grateful, Ben, for you to offer that. Really, I am. Thank you so much.
I love talking about SEO. That's one of my passions. I mean, that's my background work-wise. You know, I was anyway, I don't want to give that out on stream, but anyway.
Well, but you know what? My daughters, I told them about this and they said, "Oh yeah, talk to them."
Absolutely. It makes a huge difference. You like, anyway. Father Stephen DeYoung says the comments on the BAF short with me are hysterical. Calvinists who deny the essence energies distinction, calling me a liar for saying they don't believe in participation of the divine energies. Good grief. Well, that's like what Perry Robinson says. You have to like teach them their own theology, right?
I don't even know where to start with that.
Yeah, it's a mess.
Free speech overall good, but sometimes a double-edged sword.
That's true. All right, let me plug a couple of things real quick and then we'll wrap up here. I have a couple of streams coming up again every Tuesday and Thursday, usually 8 p.m. Eastern. The next one will be a pretty interesting one. This will be on the 7th, this next Tuesday. Neil from Dirt Poor Robins is going to come on the show and hang out with me and talk about what it was like in the evangelical music industry, some of the seedy undercurrents going on there, because he would write worship music. That was his background. So he'd write the hymns and stuff that they would sing in these evangelical churches. And then we're also going to be doing some reaction videos and things like that. So we'll be hanging out. That'll be a good time. Neil's a good dude. He's very entertaining. So y'all will really like that stream.
Yeah, Neil is excellent. You guys got to tune in for that one. I love Neil too. My interactions with him, he's a really cool guy.
Neil's a good dude. Look, I met him when I was still a Protestant, and I was hanging out with Ruslan. He came into town, and we all got dinner together. And he had somehow caught wind that I was potentially converting to Orthodoxy. So he grilled me. Neil grilled me on that for a while. So, but it was a good discussion. I'm really grateful for Neil's friendship. He's an awesome guy with an awesome family. So, tune in for that. He's there's some people in this world that are genuinely just good people. He's one of them.
Very selfless.
Yes. He's very, very selfless. Thursday, I'll have Gregory David Bayer and Gregory Tamales, the ex-Mormon, on the show. And we're going to be debunking Mormonism and doing some reaction videos then. So that'll be interesting. My appeal to everybody in the audience, subscribe to the channel if you are not subscribed. I want to try to get to 20K. We are so close. We are so close. I'm like $1.50 off from 20K. Okay. When I do 20K, when I get 20K, I'm gonna have to think of an interesting celebration, but we'll do something.
You have to do another Marvel Rival stream or something.
Marvel Rivals,
make it work this time.
Yeah, well, the Marvel Rivals, I was like lagging like crazy. Yeah. Maybe Minecraft would be okay, because that probably wouldn't lag out StreamYard. Or I can try. Maybe I'll do some testers for members or something. See if it doesn't lag. Pizza party.
Reminds me of Sunday school back in Pentecostal church. Every now and then in Sunday school, we'd have a pizza party and watch Bible Man videos.
Catholicism is cool. Says, I want to become Orthodox ASAP. Thank you all. God bless you. Hey,
glory to God.
Yeah. Ben, can on April 23rd, you, I, and Marco from IBS are going to do infant baptism according to scripture. So I would like to really plug that one because I'm totally excited about showing everybody what I've got up my sleeve.
There you go. That'll be a good one. That'll be interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm gonna go get some rest now. I'm an old man and it is midnight now, so I'm very sleepy. So y'all have a good night. I'm gonna go night. Okay.
Thanks for having us, Cleve.
Yes. Thanks for coming on.
Okay. Bye.